Chapter 852. Han Fei realized that he had underestimated the people in the Empyrean waterfall. At this moment, Han Fei also figured it out. Those who were sent here to guard the big turtle. Actually, they were sent here to become law enforcers. How could those who could become law enforcers be weak? For example, Wuming didn't move, but his sword was full of boundless light. Ning Jingyao, for example, was so dominating that he could cut the sky and the waterfall with his saber. Of course, everybody knew Ning Jingyao's capability and seemed to have witnessed it. However, nobody had ever seen Han Fei fight with his full strength. When he performed the draw technique, the invincible technique was fully displayed by Han Fei. In the end, the draw technique unleashed a dazzling golden light. The 100-meter-long saber fell 3 meters before Han Fei and couldn't move forward. The draw technique crushed the 100-meter-long saber from head to tail. Ning Jingyao grinned. The stars are boundless. As Ning Jingyao roared. In front of him, under his feet, and around him, starlight flashed, and light shadows were condensed and slashed at Han Fei crazily. While he was smiling, the sky was full of light blades. The stars were not extinguished, and the light blades were endless. Even Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. Down below, Wuming said solemnly, Ning Jingyao is getting more and more comfortable with this attack. Holding his rod, Du Jianglu looked up at the sky. This lunatic. Yu Shire subconsciously slurped the fish soup in his bowl and said stupidly, both of them are so strong. I envy them. Li Luoluo looked at a man in black far away. I don't think the Dark Hunter Legion has a chance. It's only natural that they can defeat the Dark Hunter Legion if they can fight Ning Jingyao so fiercely. The man didn't speak. However, he slightly nodded. Seeing the craziness on Ning Jingyao's face, Han Fei finally realized why these people didn't let him fight on the ground. If they were to make a move, as long as the battle situation was just a little bit more intense, the surrounding dozens of miles would probably be razed to the ground in an instant. Looking at the saber light in the sky, Han Fei stepped in the air and pointed. 10,000 knives in one. Voila! There seemed to be surging waves in the sky. As the waves surged out, countless water sabers shot out. In the blink of an eye, the sky above the Empyrean waterfall was filled with starlight and wave. Thousands of weapons clashed in the void. The saber chi directly spread from a height of more than 500 meters to the ground. Yui was the first to change her expression. She stood in midair, and a huge spinning net covered the sky. Yui shouted towards the sky, "You too, attack higher." Yui looked down at the flowers and plants in her yard and heaved a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, he did not dare to go too far away from home, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. The two of them rose higher and higher as they fought. Clang, 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 the first 100 spatial ripples undulated in the sky. Both sides were locked in a stalemate. In the distance, someone flew over. However, when he saw that it was a competition between the people of the Empyrean waterfall, he was lost for words. Is this a competition? The shockwave had already spread hundreds of miles away. Someone thought, the lunatics of the Empyrean waterfall only know how to fight. They cause trouble every day. I wish they could all be kicked out of the Scattered Stars Island. While the water sabers and the light sabers were slashing each other, Han Fei and Ning Jingyao had already collided in close combat. Once they were in close combat, Ning Jingyao was at a disadvantage. He didn't have a fancy movement technique like Han Fei's, so he was repeatedly slashed. In fact, Han Fei was at a disadvantage too. His movement technique was good, but Ning Jingyao's Star Devil Blade could generate sabers wherever there was light. Han Fei was also slashed. But at this moment, Han Fei had another advantage. His skin was thick, and the light sabers couldn't hurt him at all. Ning Jingyao was lost for words at that point. How could he possibly fight them? I'm done, after Ning Jingyao yelled 7 or 8 times in frustration, the starlight and the huge waves in the sky finally disappeared. When the two of them landed, their clothes were both in tatters, and they were no better off than the other. Ning Jingyao was lost for words. How did you train your body? You can't even cut it with the strength of a junior hidden fisher. How can you fight? Han Fei chuckled. I can't hurt you either. Ning Jingyao pulled his ragged sleeve and revealed his arm that was full of bloodstains. You can't hurt me? Thankfully, my level is much higher than yours, or I would have been killed by you. Li Luoluo nodded. Yes. It can be seen that Han Fei won the battle. Because his body is stronger than yours. Ning Jingyao didn't care at all and laughed. Don't panic. That's more interesting. What's the point if there are no opponents? Immediately, someone sneered. Ning Jingyao, do you think you're invincible? Why don't we have a practice? The person who spoke was gloomy. He just went to Yu Shire's house to watch the show, but his house was cut apart in a moment of carelessness. His head was full of black lines. Ning Jingyao glanced at his house and chuckled. Hey, old Wu, your house is too old to be repaired. Isn't it a good time to rebuild it? Here, cut down a tree. Humph. Han Fei warmed up and suddenly glanced at a tall, strong man. The man had a stick in his hand and was waiting for him with great interest. Han Fei glanced at him. Do you want to practice? The man nodded. Spirit gatherers are full of spiritual energy. You can still practice after the battle just now. Someone hurried to say, Wait, you too, practice in the sky too. Yi suddenly shouted, Du Jianglu, don't use the burning infinite rod. The man chuckled. Don't worry. Your flowers and plants won't be hurt. I'll use the shadowless running thunder. Han Fei hurried to stop him. Hey. Wait. Actually, I'm not good at rod techniques. I can practice anywhere. No. Many people roared at the same time. What do you mean by anywhere? Don't you want to rebuild your house after it collapses? However, Ning Jingyao asked in surprise, Han Fei, you're going to use rod techniques? You know rod techniques too? Han Fei thought to himself, I have the embroidery needle, a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. How can I not learn it? In any case, rod techniques were compulsory classes, and he had to learn them. In fact, Han Fei didn't intend to continue the challenge. He intended to go back and find a couple of stick techniques to deduce them before he went to Du Jianglu. However, Du Jiangluo's eyes had been fixed on him since a long time ago. If he flinched, other people might think that he was scared. A moment later, in the sky. Bam! 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 Crack! Crack! Like thunderous explosions, sonic barriers were broken in the sky one after another. Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. I'm done. I'm going back to practice. Lost for words, Du Jianglu shook his head. What kind of rod technique is that? You're not even at the demon level, are you? Han Fei landed on the ground and recalled the phantom glass wings. I just want to feel the power of the rod technique. However, don't worry. I'll practice it after I go back. I'll come back to you in a few days. I'm really tired today and didn't carry out my strength. Poochie. Someone was amused, and Li Luoluo said, Han Fei, you've already found a soul warrior to fight, and you don't want to fight other people? You don't want to consider Sister Yui's control technique and Yu Shire's armor? Han Fei chuckled. Not for now. I'm busy practicing my combat skills. I don't have time for anything else. Some people shook their heads. Seeing that there was no show to watch, they all went home. Speaking of which, they had a great time today. At least, everybody acknowledged Han Fei's strength. Those who could enter Little Nine's yard, who could obtain the phantom glass wings, who could walk into the 300-meter sword zone, and who could fight with Ning Jingyao, were truly monsters. As for Han Fei's appalling rod techniques, they were automatically ignored. When Han Fei walked back, he saw Juyin Ling smiling at him at the door of her house. Han Fei was so nervous that he was lost for words. Why are you giggling here instead of going shopping? Juyin Ling blushed at Han Fei's words. I'll take a look. Han Fei shook his head and heaved a sigh. You've seen it. There's a lot of things waiting for me to do. My rod techniques are not good enough, so I'll make up for it. My movement technique is not good enough. It seems that I'm still far from being a heavenly talent. Joeen Ling, Big Yellow, who was walking up to him, tilted its head and looked at Han Fei. I hate it when people brag about their fish. You scared my fish away. Han Fei casually threw a big fish more than 20 meters long with a mouth full of fangs to the ground. You can eat it yourself. My heart is tired. Meow. In fact, Han Fei paid special attention to this cat because it was the first cat he saw after coming to this world. It wasn't just cats. He hadn't seen any other land animals either. Therefore, when Han Fei saw a cat, he actually had a feeling of sympathy for it. Han Fei didn't know if it was a kind of meeting an old friend in a foreign land. After going back, he changed his clothes, took off on the fishing boat, and flew directly to the west of the city. On a small cliff not far away from the Path of Giants, the sun poured on the golden beach below the cliff, and the sea was covered with golden light. Occasionally, an unknown creature's head popped up and then dived into the sea. Zhang Xuanyu was sitting on the edge of the cliff. Beside him was a young girl, and the two of them were watching the sea. Zhang Xuanyu was bragging. Back then, when I was still a fishing master, my family collapsed, and my enemies were everywhere. I left my hometown alone. I still remember that the brilliant sun sprinkled all over the sea. At that time, I hoped that I could have a warm embrace by my side. Until I met you, I found that I had that feeling again. The girl next to him shyly turned her head aside. Really? Of course. My fiery heart is like this sun, brilliant and warm. Don't move. There's something on your eyelashes. Let me blow it for you. Zhang Xuanyu. Just as the two of them were very, very close, someone in the sky shouted. With a swish, the girl jumped down the cliff, covered her face and ran far away. Zhang Xuanyu quickly shouted, Hey! Don't go. There's really something on your eyelashes. However, the girl had already run far away. Zhang Xuanyu immediately flew into a rage. Han Fei, you be *starred. How many times have you ruined my business? Han Fei landed from the sky and looked at the girl who ran away. He was lost for words. You scammer. What else can you do except deceive ignorant girls? Zhang Xuanyu snorted angrily. Can't you show up later at the critical moment? Forget it. Didn't you go to catch the wind sky wings? Why are you back so soon? Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 853. Rod Techniques? After Han Fei explained his intentions, Zhang Xuanyu looked at him in surprise and couldn't help asking, Why do you suddenly want to learn rod techniques? Han Fei, aren't the combat skills you're practicing now too diverse? Only by focusing on one can you last a long time. Han Fei smiled and said, Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. If everything goes well, maybe I will also create a unique combat skill of my own. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes lit up. You've thought it through? Yes, this is the right way. In fact, Han Fei knew very well. Especially when he became a hidden fisher, Han Fei had a vague hunch that the hidden fisher was looking for a way. Therefore, no matter how many combat skills he practiced, they could help him, but they wouldn't become the mainstream. In this case, he could learn anything. Maybe these non-mainstream combat skills could even provide him with inspiration. Han Fei said lightly, Just tell me what suits me. I don't ask for anything else. You need to have great strength, you need to be firm and fierce, you need to have sufficient momentum, and you need to have a strong explosive force. Zhang Xuanyu looked at Han Fei speechlessly. If you want my instant technique, just tell me. Han Fei sneered. Why would I want your instant technique? What I want is a traditional rod technique. It has a lot of skills, including attack and defense, and is flexible and infinitely useful. Your instant technique obviously doesn't meet my requirements. Zhang Xuanyu thought for a while and said, 9-layered waves in Furious Sea? Forget it, 9-layered waves in furious sea doesn't meet your requirements either. Let me think, let me think. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Xuanyu suddenly said in frustration, "Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll find them for you." With that said, Zhang Xuanyu sat on the ground and took out hundreds of rod technique. Under Han Fei's stunned gaze, this guy began to pick and choose. This is the Azura Demon Cudgel, upper demon level. Full of changes, nimble, and unpredictable moves. Very wild. And this, sky-lifting rod, heaven level, low quality. It's extremely domineering, but its defense is not good. Here, this fierce rod technique, heaven level, low quality. It's extremely flexible, but its attack is not good. And this, flowing light locking rod, also heaven level, low quality. Except for its lack of strength, everything else is good. Han Fei was dazzled by Zhang Xuanyu's selection of more than a dozen. Han Fei was about to refuse, when it suddenly occurred to him that he could synthesize it. Immediately, Han Fei said unceremoniously, "Well, I'll take all of them. You can continue looking for your little girl." "No, wait a minute. If you scare him away, who am I supposed to look for?" Zhang Xuanyu glanced at Han Fei and asked, "Did you really get your wings from a level 63 Wind Sky Wing Soul King?" Han Fei patted Zhang Xuanyu's shoulder and said, "What do you think?" Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Fine, I'll wait for a few more days. Aren't you going to the Sea of Pearls? Do you want to wait for us?" Although Lu Renkuang had just become a peak-level hanging fisher, he had a good foundation and needed another experience. Little White was now free. "In the next few days, I'm planning to go to the sea to earn some points, so that I can get promoted to 6 stars earlier." Han Fei suddenly said, "Hey, wait, aren't you only 5-star? How do we go to sea?" Zhang Xuanyu curled his lips and said, "I'm leading the team out to sea. A 5-star can lead a team of 10 people. However, the range is limited to 3,000 kilometers." Han Fei asked, "What about me? I'm already a 6-star slaughterer. How about I take you out?" Han Fei didn't want to go back to the Empyrean waterfall because he had to see Joeen Ling again. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder. "Forget it, I'm not going with you. When Lu Renkuang and I become hidden fishers, let's go to the Sea of Pearls together. Aren't you going to practice rod techniques too? You should take advantage of this time to practice." "I'll take Lu Renkuang with me." Han Fei thought to himself, if the two of them act together, no one can stop them within 3,000 kilometers. So, he was reassured. "Okay, then be careful. I'm going to the central city." Han Fei hadn't been to the central city yet. He only knew that the best things and the strongest people on the scattered stars island were all concentrated in the central city. The cities in the north, south, east, and west seemed to be very developed. However, most of the things there were for people with 6 stars and below. But the central city was different. There were few people here, but all of them were above 6 stars. And those who wanted to reach 6 stars had to be at least peak-level hanging fishers, and most of them were hidden fishers. Here, any random person could take on the role of the main defense line. They could even serve as a deputy commander. However, fishing boats were not allowed to fly over the central city. There were a total of 4 city gates to the central city. Han Fei came from the west city, so he naturally entered from the west city gate. The city was not high, less than 200 meters, and it was built with dark undersea mine rock. The arched gate was no different from the city gates in Han Fei's memory. Outside the city gate, no one was guarding. Passing through the wide and majestic passage of the city gate, as soon as he entered the inner city, Han Fei suddenly looked sideways at the right corner, only to find 2 old men playing cards, fish-dragon cards. The 2 old men didn't even look at Han Fei and continued to play cards. On the stone table, there were 2 plates of snacks, dried fish and sea spirit melon seed. Han Fei couldn't see the strength of these 2 old men, but he knew that they were definitely stronger than him. Since they ignored him, he didn't need to pay attention to them either. So Han Fei went straight into the city and went to the logistics division. After Han Fei left, one of the old men said, "Is this the Han Fei who took the Wind God Pearl? He seems not bad." The other old man, pinching a small dried fish, stuffed it into his mouth. "Yes. I heard that Jiuyin Ling became a law enforcer because of him. She is a capable young talent. But she is a little reckless and has no rules." The other old man suddenly took out 4 tentacle lobsters. "Blow them up. Give me money, give me money." The style of the central city was no different from that of the outside, except that there were much fewer pedestrians on the road. When Han Fei found the logistics division, he found that there were only 9 windows. Here, the number of people looking through various resources added up to no more than 200 people. However, the number of 200 people was not a small number at all. The 200 people here were 200 hidden fishers or above, plus the pedestrians walking along the way and the people in other shops. The number of hidden fishers that Han Fei had seen so far definitely exceeded 1,000. Amazing, amazing! No wonder the 10,000 Demon Valley doesn't dare to launch a large-scale war. If these thousands of hidden fishers scatter in the sea around the scattered stars island, won't they fight to the death? When Han Fei walked into the logistics division, many people who were chatting suddenly stopped and looked at Han Fei up and down. As if he didn't notice them, Han Fei went straight to a window and said, "I want to buy seal combat skills." In fact, there must be a lot of rod combat skills here, but Han Fei didn't want to spend money on them. After all, no matter how many there were not as many heaven-level techniques as Zhang Xuanyu's. Zhang Xuanyu bought rod combat skills in order to create his own combat skills, so he must choose the best ones. Instead of coming here to spend money, it was better to go to Zhang Xuanyu and ask for it directly. The pretty girl who received Han Fei was only a peak-level hanging fisher and had lost an arm. She must have been seriously injured in the battle, so she entered the central city as an exception. She said with a smile, "Please show me your star waist tag." After a while, the girl quickly sorted out a booklet and handed it to Han Fei. "You can choose here, or you can sit down in the hall and take your time to choose." Han Fei nodded slightly. "Okay." Holding the booklet, Han Fei sat down in the hall and opened it, only to find that the booklet was more than 30 pages thick. On each page, there were 7 or 8 kinds of seal technique. However, Han Fei directly ignored the seal techniques below the demon level and started to read from the demon level. Single soul seal, demon level, mid-quality, introduction, a seal technique that attacks the soul. Because it is extremely difficult to practice, it is reduced to demon level, mid-quality. It can disturb the enemy's soul and make the enemy's mind sluggish. Price: 120,000 points of credit. White Cloud Divine Seal, demon level, high quality, introduction, contains the power of water and clouds, suitable for sky combat. You can use the power of clouds to exert power beyond that of the seal technique itself. Price: 250,000 points of credit. Han Fei browsed through the booklet, from the demon level to the heaven level, and saw a total of 48 seal technique. Han Fei was attracted by a seal technique named Triple Palace Heavy Seal. Because the description of the Triple Palace Heavy Seal made Han Fei tempted. Triple Palace Heavy Seal, heaven level, low quality. Incomplete, introduction. This is a seal technique that can move mountains. You can use the power of the 3 palaces, melt the power of the ocean, and change your position to break the void. Origin: obtained from the ruins of an unknown palace near the Scattered Stars Island. Because most of the seal technique is missing, it can only be reduced to a heaven-level, low-quality seal technique. Price: 420,000 points of credit. Han Fei's lips curled. What he was least afraid of were incomplete combat technique. On the contrary, the more incomplete they were, the more he liked them. As long as he could deduce them, he would definitely make a fortune. Han Fei, what are you looking at? Clang. Han Fei tilted his body and even overturned the chair. Immediately, it attracted a lot of attention. Han Fei raised his head. It was none other than Zhuyin Ling. Why was she still haunting him? Han Fei was lost for words. Didn't you go shopping? How did you end up here? Zhuyin Ling hurried to help Han Fei up, but Han Fei got up and looked at her weirdly. He had never thought that he would be so popular. Zhuyin Ling stuck out her tongue slightly. I was just shopping. I happened to see you here, so I came. Han Fei's eyes widened. Wait, you're shopping here? Do you have any misunderstanding about the word shopping? Before Zhuyin Ling replied, Han Fei simply said, Wait for me at the door. I'll be right out. Han Fei felt countless murderous gazes. He quickly ran to the counter, only to find that the girl behind the counter was also looking at him weirdly. Han Fei said gloomily, I want this Triple Palace heavy seal. Card. Waist tag. Under the weird gaze of the girl behind the counter, Han Fei accepted the jade slip of the Triple Palace heavy seal and ran to the door in a hurry. When he reached the door, he saw Zhuyin Ling waiting for him with a smile. Seeing the surprised gazes of the passers-by, Han Fei quickly pulled Zhuyin Ling to an empty corner. You're too eye-catching. Why do I feel like everyone knows you? Zhuyin Ling pursed her lips. In the central city, most people have actually met each other. They know who I am. Han Fei was amused. Sister, let's change clothes before we go shopping. With your fluttering white clothes, I feel like I'm going to be killed by someone while you're talking to me. Zhuyin Ling asked in confusion, Why should I change clothes? Han Fei said seriously, Look, you want to enter the world to observe the sufferings and complications of the world. Look at you, fluttering white clothes. Wherever you go, people will look at you. Oh, isn't this law enforcer Zhuyin Ling? Even if something happens to me, I'll be fine. So, Han Fei said, Let's go. I'll take you shopping once. You can go shopping by yourself in the future. The third chapter. Asking for votes. The plot hasn't unfolded yet, so don't ask so many questions. The third chapter in the next few days. Soon, the plot here will be over, but it has to be done slowly day by day. I can't write everything in one go. Well, tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 854. In Han Fei's home at the Empyrean Waterfall. Under Han Fei's careful guidance, Zhuyin Ling had turned from a gentle girl into a handsome young man. Well, not exactly handsome. His appearance was more common because he used some disguise techniques, but his clothes were relatively clean. Zhuyin Ling liked plain colors and she wanted white. Of course, Han Fei couldn't make it for her. After all, wearing white clothes, no matter how much you changed your appearance, you would still be very conspicuous. It would be hard for others not to notice you. Han Fei said solemnly, You should know how powerful the disguise technique is. As long as you are good at it, you can disguise yourself as anyone. However, Zhuyin Ling was looking at herself in a basin of water and said aggrievedly, This isn't pretty at all. Han Fei was amused. Of course. Why do I have to be so pretty? Do you want everyone to recognize you as Zhuyin Ling? You're going to experience the life of an ordinary person and observe them in secret. You're not going to participate in a talent show. Listen to me, you're definitely right. What's a talent show? Han Fei waved his hand and said, It doesn't matter. What's important is that you dress like this when you go out in the future. You can buy a few more sets of men's clothes. It would be best if you could grow a mustache. You look like a gigolo right now. Zhuyin Ling. It was obviously impossible for Han Fei and Zhuyin Ling to sneak out of the Empyrean waterfall. Han Fei didn't hide it from her. He only hoped that Zhuyin Ling could figure out the secret of watching shows. On the ground, Ning Jingyao was slightly confused. He mumbled, Aren't you unwilling? If you're not happy, why did you bring her out? Looking at the fishing boat that disappeared in the sky, Yi shook her head slightly and continued to hum and play with her flowers. To her, growing flowers was her Tao. After disguising himself, No one should be able to see through his true identity. The moment he landed in the city, he took Jiuyin Ling to the sea creatures trade market, which had the most complicated flow of people. This place was even livelier than the port in the village. There were shops along the street, and they were basically big courtyards. Many people were selling and exchanging goods in the bustling market on the outskirt. By the roadside, someone had spread out the carpet and was exchanging. Pass by, don't miss. There are more than 20 kinds of living materials here. I'll sell them cheaply. They're freshly made. They cost 10 high-quality pearls each. I just dug up an undersea secret realm and sold it at a huge discount. I'm going to clear out my inventory at a loss. A rare and mysterious battle technique. Just because of the word mysterious, everyone came over to take a look. It doesn't cost anything just to look at it. On the Scattered Stars Island, there were not many people who sold food. However, Han Fei still bought 2 skewers of octopus tentacles and gave one to Jiuyin Ling. Have a taste. This is what the people of the Scattered Stars Island should be like. It was no different from the village or the town. Of course, I've never been to the Thousand Star City, so I don't know. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes lit up. He saw someone squatting down and spreading out a stall. The man waved his hand, and a trivariant golden ginseng fell on the fish skin stall. Immediately, Han Fei ran over. How much is this trivariant golden ginseng? The man glanced at Han Fei. He did not expect to run into a customer as soon as he arrived. His eyes immediately moved. Hey, bro, the price of the trivariant golden ginseng is getting higher and higher. Recently, it was very rare for him to catch one. Well, you're my first customer today. 5,000 high-quality pearls, no bargaining. Han Fei sneered. Bro, I just came out of the refining hall. I just sold one there for 3,100, but you're selling it for 5,000. Isn't that too much? Jiuyin Ling said telepathically, We didn't go to the refining hall. Han Fei glanced at her. I'm bargaining. Don't talk nonsense. The man smiled and said, Bro, the price of good things is high now. You know that. Why don't you exchange it for an energy spiritual fruit? That thing is 500. Hee, but can it compare to the trivariant golden ginseng in terms of effect? Han Fei sneered. 3,500, just sell it. If not, I'm leaving. There are so many people here. I think someone will pay for it. Just wait a little longer. Hey, brother, you're selling it for 1,500? Give me a point. The trivariant golden ginseng is really hard to catch now. Look, in order to catch it, I was ambushed by a sea demon and my shoulder was pierced. As he spoke, the man was going to take off his clothes to show Han Fei. Han Fei grinned and said, That's none of my business. This thing is very nutritious, but I have to have time to eat it in a battle. Okay, I'll give you 100. After a moment, Han Fei said proudly, See? The trivariant golden ginseng was easily bought for only 3,600. It's not expensive, but it's really rare. Jiuyin Ling blinked her eyes. I don't think it's easy for him either. Han Fei was stunned. Then do you think it's easy for me? Jiuyin Ling nodded quickly. Han Fei. Before they walked 1,000 meters, they saw 2 people holding 2 wrist-thick sea snakes in their hands. The 2 of them opened their mouths wide, bit through the tails of the snakes, and were crazily swallowing the blood of the sea snakes. Burp! Awesome! The 2 of them clapped their hands at each other with smiles on their faces. Jiuyin Ling's eyes widened. Han Fei smiled casually. It's very nutritious. It can increase your strength. But, should I just eat it like this? Han Fei curled his lip. So, you have to go shopping and go to the bottom of society. Only then can you really be a part of society. For a whole day, Han Fei took Jiuyin Ling to buy clothes, drive a turquoise fish, watch fights, and go to a casino. Jiuyin Ling was dumbfounded the whole time. She had never been to such a place before. Especially in the casino, Han Fei played pure gambling, but he lost 3,000 high-quality pearls, which made his blood freeze and his neck flush. At this moment, at the gate of a club on Carnival Street, Han Fei pointed at the club and said, "Ordinary people come here to drink when they're tired and stressed. Let's go in and have a drink." Joanne Ling frowned. "There's a bad smell in there." Han Fei grabbed her and entered the club. "What's bad? Only when you're out of society can you be noble and pure. When you're in society, it's only dirty. The life of ordinary people is so dirty." The two of them came to the bar and Han Fei shouted, "Boss, 10 glasses of Firefox wine first." "Okay." The boss opened a hole in a steel can and grabbed it with one hand. The flame-like liquor splashed out and rolled into the glasses. The dark red Firefox wine was actually not as tasty as the liquor that Han Fei brewed. However, the taste was quite special. Every time Zhang Xuanyu came, he would order a bunch of them. Looking at the red liquid that was still burning in the glasses, Joanne Ling felt that she was about to grit her teeth. She frowned and wrinkled her nose. "Gudu." "Ah." Han Fei grabbed a random glass and poured it into his mouth. "Try it?" "No." Joanne Ling couldn't hold it anymore. She could tolerate shopping during the day. At least, she didn't have to do it herself and drink blood. But now, was the Firefox wine any different from drinking blood? Han Fei curled his lips and said with a smile, "How can you be a part of society if you can't even drink this? Let me tell you, cultivation is not a castle in the air. Which of the people on the Scattered Stars Island wasn't a heavenly talent? If they were in a village or a town, they would all be heavenly talent. But now? Everyone is drinking Firefox wine here, and so am I." Han Fei emphasized the last sentence and then looked at Joanne Ling. However, the latter seemed to be on the verge of tears. Under Han Fei's gaze, Joanne Ling finally picked up a glass and looked at Han Fei. Han Fei urged, "Come on. Drink. Fairies can only be in the sky, and women in the human world have to fall to the ground. Drink." Joanne Ling pursed her lips and closed her eyes as if she had made a major decision. She opened her mouth and poured the Firefox wine into her mouth. Cough, cough, cough. Han Fei scratched his head. She choked. Han Fei said, "Don't panic, don't panic. Don't drink so hard." Then, Han Fei raised a glass of Firefox wine and poured it into his mouth. He saw a graceful woman walking towards him. In the next moment, the woman lay between Han Fei and Joanne Ling. Her lips were bright red and she said gracefully, "Can I have a drink?" Han Fei shrugged. "Of course, beautiful women always have privileges." Joanne Ling frowned. "No, go away." The girl giggled. "Yo, you're quite hot-tempered. Little brother, are you new to the Scattered Stars Island? You look quite handsome, and your clothes are clean. You've never drunk before. TSK, TSK. Can I play with you?" Joanne Ling said to Han Fei telepathically, "What do I do? She's wearing too little, and I don't know her." Han Fei chuckled and replied, "Fairy, welcome to the human world." Joanne Ling frowned. Seeing that Han Fei ignored her, she panicked a little. Bam! To Han Fei's astonishment, Joanne Ling waved her hand and slapped the man away. Han Fei's mouth was wide open. "That works?" Speechless, Han Fei grabbed Joanne Ling's arm and said, "Let's go. Let's run, ah. Little B** starred, how dare you hit me? Did I piss you off?" The woman seemed to be very familiar with the situation here. At this moment, many soul warriors and armorists stood up. They were all tall and strong. Someone sneered. "Bro, there's no rule to hit someone for no reason, is there?" Someone snorted heavily. "Son of AB*TCH, Miss Hong has been slapped away by you. Do you want to die?" Someone was already holding a big axe in his hand. "So what if you have 6 stars? I'm also a 6-star. If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think about leaving this place." Joanne Ling was about to extend her hand to seal him, when Han Fei quickly grabbed her hand and said telepathically, "It's our fault. Let's run, let's run." Pa! A whip appeared in Miss Hong's hand at some point, and she whipped the ground. "I knew you were stupid, but I didn't know you were so stupid. 5,000 high-quality pearls. Otherwise, I won't let this go." Han Fei grinned. "I've hit you, but you've gone too far by extorting me. Today I'm going out. Why don't you try to stop me? You've hit someone and you're still so arrogant? Get him." Han Fei suddenly punched out, and the two armorists who were charging at him were sent flying. They crashed through the club and flew into the river outside. "Son of AB****, you really dare to hit me? Brothers, let's go." Bam, 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 bam. A moment later, Han Fei dragged Juyin Ling and disappeared into the crowd. After taking a few turns and finding a place with no one around, Han Fei stepped on an array under his feet, and the stealth array and the breath-concealing array covered their traces. Juyin Ling blinked her eyes and said, "Should I not have attacked?" Looking at her aggrieved look, Han Fei heaved a long sigh. "Fine, fine, go back, go back. Anyway, congratulations, you've seen the life of a normal person today." First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 855. Sigh. Han Fei lay down on his bed, wondering if it was a wrong choice to take Juyin Ling out. In any case, he had to find something for her to comprehend on her own. As long as he didn't follow her all day, that was better than anything else. Han Fei heaved a long sigh and murmured, "The infinite ocean, the sea expansion realm." He remembered what Granny Yin said. There was no king in the 1,000-star city. That at least meant one thing. There were venerables in the 1,000-star city. But even if it was an Exalt realm expert, there was still a gap of 3 realms between them. Forget it. I'd better become a peak-level hidden fisher first. Han Fei stopped thinking about it and sat up straight. He had taken so many staff techniques from Zhang Xuanyu, so he should be able to fuse them into a good staff technique. Fuse. A great amount of spiritual energy was disappearing. After 100 minutes, a combat skill named True Solution to Rod Techniques popped up in Han Fei's mind. Battle skill? Han Fei was surprised. The name didn't sound special at all. True Solution of Staff Techniques, Heaven Level, Divine Quality, Introduction, compiled from 13 staff combat skills. It contains the essentials of many staff techniques and is compiled into a book. Comprehending this book would allow one to comprehend the essence of staff technique. Derivation. Unknown deduction cost. 0/60,000,000 note. Different people have different understandings of the essence. Han Fei didn't immediately study the true solution of rod technique. How could the essence be so easily comprehended? Besides, he was not in a hurry. Anyway, he couldn't use the embroidery needle now. Han Fei was more interested in the Triple Palace Heavy Seal. Now that he had learned it, he could use it now. After a while, Han Fei's spiritual energy reserve had dropped to 60 million. A seal technique called the 9 Mansions Dragon Seal appeared in his mind. 9 Palace Dragon Seal, Heaven-Level Divine Quality, Introduction. Complements the 9 Palaces' Heavenly Divination Formation Technique and can borrow the power of the 9 Palaces' star positions to break through the void. Borrowing the power of the star position, he transformed it into a boundless book. This was the heavy imprint technique. When the imprint descended, it was as if a mountain was collapsing. When it was imprinted, there would be dragon cries that could shake one's soul. Derivation. Unknown deduction cost. 0/60,000,000 note. Reprint is required, the heavier the better. Han Fei's eyes lit up. This is good. It's related to arrays, so the seal breaking through the void can directly break through the void with a big seal. Passing through the barrier of the void, they transformed into giant waves, mountains, and strange rocks that smashed down. It must be very painful. Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim. However, with this seal technique, He didn't know if a sneak attack would work. However, no matter what, the description of being able to shake one's soul was no different from being struck by a stick. The next morning, hardly had Han Fei removed the fog array when he saw Juin Ling standing at the door. Han Fei immediately felt a headache, but he held back his temper and asked, "What's wrong?" Juin Ling said solemnly, "I've thought about it. You're right. I plan to leave the Scattered Stars Island and live in a village for a year before I come back." Han Fei was overjoyed and grinned from ear to ear. "That's great. Little Nine. You still have a lot of awareness. Let me tell you, only by seeing the vicissitudes of the world can you truly comprehend the meaning of entering the world. Only with this level of understanding can you come into being, right? Congratulations, you're finally enlightened." Juin Ling slightly glared at Han Fei. "What's the name of your village?" Han Fei was stunned for a moment and had a bad feeling. "The Heavenly Water Village. What's wrong?" Juin Ling said seriously, "Okay, I'll go to the Heavenly Water Village." Cough. Cough, cough. Han Fei swallowed and said, "Why do you want to go to the Heavenly Water Village?" "Let me tell you, our Heavenly Water Village is actually not good. Some villages are 17 or 18 times better than ours." A hint of slyness flashed in Juin Ling's eyes. "That's why I want to go. I can have a better experience. Let's go to the Heavenly Water Village." Han Fei took a deep breath. "However, on second thought, I'll go. Anyway, I'm not in the Heavenly Water Village. It's up to you as long as you don't follow me." He couldn't afford to offend such a genius, so he could only avoid her. Juin Ling took a deep breath and said, "Wait for me to come back." Han Fei nodded like a chicken pecking rice. "Yes, yes, yes. Okay. No problem, no problem." Juin Ling looked at her yard and then at Han Fei. Finally, she controlled the fishing boat to take off and leave quietly. "Whew!" Han Fei took a long breath in relief. "She's finally gone." Looking at the sky, Han Fei said casually, "I hope you no longer care about worldly feelings after you're born." Suddenly, Han Fei saw a yellow figure squatting on the wall of his house. Han Fei turned around, only to see that Big Yellow was staring at him with its head tilted and its eyes wide open. Big Yellow asked curiously, "Did you piss her off?" Han Fei said angrily, "What are you talking about? I'm just guiding her to understand the true meaning of life." "Hey, do cats like eavesdropping?" Big Yellow glanced at Han Fei in disdain. "Are you going to make breakfast?" Han Fei thought for a moment. Without Juin Ling following him, he was full of energy and said, "Yes." Hardly had Han Fei said that when another head popped out of the door. It was none other than Qing Chen. As soon as this fellow heard that there was food to eat, he would appear from all directions. After breakfast, Big Yellow asked, "Are you going fishing?" Han Fei shook his head. "No. I'm going to fight." Big Yellow said, "Then I'm not fishing either." Han Fei was lost for words. "Just go fishing." Big Yellow glanced at Han Fei in disdain. "The fish will be scared away when you fight. How can you catch them?" Han Fei. A moment later Han Fei shouted, Old Du, I'm here to fight you." Du Jianglu walked out of the house unhurriedly. "Are you sure? The rod technique that you learned in one night can't be good." Half a month passed. In the sky. Clang, clang, clang. Two figures collided fiercely in the sky. The two of them were holding rods, but the shadows of the rods were already gone. The air was surging and the clouds were gathering and dispersing. Down below, someone was eating dried fish and asked in confusion, "This time, Han Fei has persisted for 100 seconds. Can he still fight?" Someone shook his head. This lunatic must be addicted to fighting. However, the improvement of his staff technique was indeed a little too fast. It's rare for him to persist for more than 100 seconds under old Du's attack. Ning Jingyao was lost for words. "This guy doesn't even want to practice with me anymore?" Someone laughed. "Practice with you? His saber techniques are as good as yours. Why would he want to practice with you?" Wu Ming said, "He wants to learn swordsmanship." Ning Jingyao glanced at Wu Ming. "Forget it. Don't think that he wants to learn swordsmanship from you just because he broke through your 300-meter sword domain a few times. He's just practicing his body technique." Oh! All of a sudden, unparalleled shadows of rods appeared in the void. Instantly, Han Fei pierced the void with one hand, and the other end of the rod extended from 100 meters away. Du Jianglu was delighted. "Good move." Like a bird, Du Jianglu blocked the rod with his shoulder and waved the long rod in his hand, slapping Han Fei's rod back with a clang. Han Fei took a deep breath and said, "That's enough. Let's call it a day." Han Fei and Du Jianglu stopped and looked at the sky far away, where a boat was approaching. On the boat, Zhang Xuanyu looked at Han Fei in shock and then at Du Jianglu. Zhang Xuanyu asked in surprise, "Han Fei, when did you learn my instant mystic spear? However, it's not good enough for you. Let me do it." After saying that, Zhang Xuanyu jumped out, and with a whoosh, a pair of white wings spread out. Holding a long rod in one hand, Zhang Xuanyu looked at Du Jianglu and said, "Han Fei's move is not good enough. Let me do it." Du Jianglu grinned. "Good. I was wondering why Han Fei suddenly came up with such a move. It turns out to be someone else's battle technique." Han Fei asked in surprise, "Didn't you lead a team to the sea? When did you go to the Wind Sky Canyon and take off your wings?" Lu Renkuang and Luo Xiaobai flew close. Lu Renkuang snorted. "What sea? I was only gone for 3 days." Zhang Xuanyu said with a smile, "I can't get the Wind God Pearl anyway. A pair of wings with a wingspan of 13 meters is enough." Han Fei asked in surprise, "Why didn't you come to me? I could have helped you." Zhang Xuanyu smiled. "Don't you know that no wind sky wings will approach you if you have wings?" Well, as he talked, Zhang Xuanyu looked at Du Jianglu and said, "Just one spear." Du Jianglu nodded and said unconcernedly, "Okay." Han Fei flew aside. Naturally, he wasn't as good at rod techniques as Zhang Xuanyu. The guy had never practiced anything but rod techniques in his life. Even the instant mystic spear was a derivative of the rod technique. Zhang Xuanyu, however, looked very serious. Han Fei keenly noticed that 80% of the spiritual energy had been gathered on his hand. Du Jianglu smiled casually. The one-move challenge was more exciting than fighting with Han Fei. At this moment, he was full of fighting will. Holding the rod with both hands, he extended one foot and slightly bent the other. Swoosh! Han Fei's eyes constricted, as he found that half of the rod was gone the moment Zhang Xuanyu exerted his strength. He quickly looked at Du Jianglu, only to discover that the guy's rod was only half out and had just touched Zhang Xuanyu's spear. Du Jianglu's face changed greatly, and he was flung back. Down below, Wu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. That was fast. Ning Jingyao's eyes widened too. That was a fast attack. Yushire remarked, "That was really fast. I'm so envious." Yui exclaimed, "That was really fast." Du Jianglu glanced at the blood on his shoulder and looked at Zhang Xuanyu solemnly. "What's the name of that attack?" Zhang Xuanyu retracted his rod and grinned. That time, light. Du Jianglu slightly bowed at Zhang Xuanyu solemnly. He had benefited a lot from the attack. Han Fei's eyes glittered. Momentary time? Why did he feel like he had seen it before? All of a sudden, Han Fei looked at Zhang Xuanyu. Could it be that this kid has comprehended the true meaning of time? Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 856. Han Fei's home. Han Fei looked at Zhang Xuanyu curiously. He keenly sensed that there was something wrong with the momentary time just now. Having worked for Du Jianglu for half a month, he knew old Du's capabilities very well. Han Fei basically used the air-breaking strike, plus the speed of the instant mystic spear. He had exerted his speed to the extreme. However, Du Jianglu would always beat them back when they were 1 meter away from him. It suggested that Du Jianglu had absolute control over the 1-meter range before him. In the end, this kind of control was broken by Zhang Xuanyu's rod. That feeling was a little like when the time arowana had reverse time. Han Fei stared at Zhang Xuanyu and asked, "Is it related to the abyssal chasm?" Zhang Xuanyu smiled casually. "I knew you could see it. This is also something I realized recently. I found that the abyssal chasm may not only have a space problem, but also a time problem. Just now, I was only able to slightly delay the time in a very small space." Han Fei's eyelids twitched. "That's it." Zhang Xuanyu snorted. "What else do you think? If I had really controlled time, that guy wouldn't have been able to touch my stick." Han Fei realized that it did make sense. If Zhang Xuanyu could control the time within a certain range, Du Jianglu wouldn't be able to beat him at all. Glancing at Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang, Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Is everything done?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Yes. Zhang Xuanyu said that we should go to the Sea of Pearls together." Han Fei looked at Lu Renquang. "Why are you still a 5-star? The fat on Lu Renquang's face shivered. "I didn't really go out to fight. I have enough points now. I just need to kill more sea demons." Han Fei chuckled. "All 3 of us can lead the team anyway. You're the best choice. However, I'm told that there are no sea demons in the Sea of Pearls." Luo Xiaobai said, "There are occasional wars. After all, the sea demons use high-quality pearls as their currency, just like us. They've ambushed the Sea of Pearls more than once. However, this time, it has nothing to do with the sirens. It's said that there was a violent tremor in the Sea of Pearls, followed by some strange flames. This has been going on for some time, but we haven't found the cause yet." Han Fei was surprised. It turned out to be true. Han Fei's eyes lit up. Could it be a treasure trove or a relic? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "I don't know. Many people in Central City went to the Sea of Pearls to find out the reason." Lu Renquang curled his lips and said, "So many people couldn't find it. Maybe there's nothing here. In my opinion, the Sea of Pearls is full of pearl divers and shells. Even if there are ruins, they must be bad ones." Zhang Xuanyu interrupted, "That's not necessarily true. We'll only know what the mystic realms and ruins are like when we go there. The 5 of us." Suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu shut up and looked at Han Fei. He subconsciously said 5 people, but he immediately remembered that Xia Shaochan was not here now. Wouldn't it be a blow to Han Fei if he said 5 people? Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang also looked at Han Fei, who smiled casually. "Why are you looking at me? So be it if you're missing someone. Mystic realms have to be explored, treasures have to be found, and relics have to be fought over." Luo Xiaobai suddenly said, "I heard that you and Juyin Ling." Luo Xiaobai's eyes were a little unfriendly and interrogative. Han Fei simply waved his hand. "That's not true. I have nothing to do with Juyin Ling. I just treated everybody in the Empyrean waterfall to a meal. She became a law enforcer after the meal. What does that have to do with me?" Han Fei paused for a moment. Also, she's been tricked away by me. She won't be back anytime soon." "Who?" Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder. "That's fine. If you want to find a girl, go to a nightclub. Juyin Ling isn't easy to deal with." Han Fei kicked him. *CK off. "Do you think I'm like you?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "That's good. Are we leaving now or some other time?" Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai looked at the corner of the wall and extended her vines to a yellow furry thing. "Chilla!" The vines were shattered, and Big Yellow proudly stepped forward and glanced at Han Fei, not caring about the vines at all. "Han Fei, are you going fishing?" Han Fei said with a smile. "No, I'm going to the Sea of Pearls later. You can take your time fishing." "Okay. Then I'm going." Big Yellow leaped and disappeared from Han Fei's yard. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, "What's that?" Lu Renquang smacked his lips. "It can talk, but it looks rather special and fleshy." "Can it?" "No." Han Fei looked at Lu Renquang speechlessly. You want to eat everything, he said. Big Yellow can rub you against the ground. Lu Renquang asked in shock, so strong? Zhang Xuanyu said, it's rather cute. Han Fei said with a smile, Big Yellow is a cat, a creature that lives on the land. Also, it's a powerful creature equal to a law enforcer. Hiss. Lu Renquang shivered. Thankfully, he didn't say whether or not it could be eaten, or he might have been eaten by the cat. Han Fei rose. Let's go. Since we're going, let's set off immediately. If we don't find anything wrong with the Sea of Pearls, we can go to other places. The Scattered Stars Island is already boring. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, I'd like to take a look at the Transverse Mountain. Han Fei tilted his head and looked at Zhang Xuanyu. Do you want to be locked in the Empyrean waterfall like senior brother Dashui? Zhang Xuanyu smiled awkwardly. Then forget it. The Sea of Pearls was located to the north of the Scattered Stars Island. The whole area was within the range of the Sea of Pearls. Even during the total war on the Scattered Stars Island, the Sea of Pearls was a place that sea demons were reluctant to approach. First of all, the creatures there weren't strong, and the sea demons couldn't control them to attack. Also, the Sea of Pearls was the place where human beings and experts appeared most frequently. At the center of the sea, there was always a big ship that seemed to be embedded on the seabed, and experts were stationed day and night. The sea demons had attacked the Sea of Pearls before, but they suffered heavy casualties every time. According to Luo Xiaobai, a sea demon as strong as Blue Feather was killed in the most brutal battle. The sea demons also found that they couldn't make any profit from the Sea of Pearls. After all, they didn't know anything about social economics. They only knew that human beings collected high-quality pearls as money and couldn't arouse their desire to attack. Also, there were too many people patrolling the Sea of Pearls. Those people wandered around the Sea of Pearls day and night for three things. One was to check if there were any traces of the sea demons. One was to check if there was anything wrong with the identity of the pearl divers. The other was to check if the temporary identity of the non-pearl divers had expired when they came to the Sea of Pearls. To enter the Sea of Pearls, one had to pay 5,000 high-quality pearls a day. During the period, whatever one got in the Sea of Pearls belonged to them. The place to pay the high-quality pearls was on the big ship at the center of the Sea of Pearls. At this moment, hardly had Han Fei and his companions entered the Sea of Pearls when they saw two boats sailing on the surface of the sea. Someone was scanning them with their senses. Then, Han Fei and his companions noticed that other boats were passing by and sensed where they were all the time. Luo Xiaobai said, The surveillance on the Sea of Pearls is very strict. Both the boats that are sailing on the surface of the sea and the pearl divers will report us if they find anything wrong with our identities. In Han Fei's perception, the deepest part of the Sea of Pearls was no more than 1,000 meters. There were plenty of corals and algae at the bottom of the sea. The colorful ocean world could be seen clearly here. There was no simple beach here. It was more like an enormous coral forest. It was filled with a large number of red and yellow staghorn corals, purple spherical foam corals, dark yellow flying disc corals, green mollusk corals, kaleidoscopic corals that looked like snowflakes, and all kinds of brain corals. For the first time, Han Fei realized that so many strange corals could grow in the same area. With just a casual scan, he discovered as many as 20 different types of corals that differed greatly from each other. All kinds of common fish below level 30 lived here in harmony. Although the food chain was complicated, the level of the sea creatures was generally low, which was probably because human beings had occupied this place for a long time. Only on the sandy ground between the corals could there be shells several meters long. However, some of the shells were lying horizontally, and some were lying vertically. Even their heads were facing upward. Han Fei saw that some pearl divers knocked the shells, and then some of the shells opened their mouth. The pearl divers would pick up 1 or 2 pearls from the shells. Then, they would clean up the shells and throw a few grains of sand at them. Lu Renkuang asked in surprise. Why are they so obedient? Luo Xiaobai said, it's a common understanding between human beings and the spiritual energy muscles. Human beings will not hurt them and will even clean them regularly. Naturally, they will get the pearls in their mouth. However, if it's a clean muscle that has already been taken, it will attack you if you repeatedly hit it. Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai. You're talking as if you've been here before. Luo Xiaobai smiled. I've read all the files on the Sea of Pearls. Okay, Little Nine won't show up anytime soon. I have my own plans. Don't worry, everybody. A storm is coming. Please look forward to the following story. End of this chapter. Chapter 857. No matter how fast the wind god boat was, it could only cover 60,000 kilometers in a day. Han Fei regretted that he didn't carve all kinds of speed arrays on the wind god boat after he grasped the arrays. However, it wasn't slow at all. It took them 2.5 days to reach the big ship at the center of the Sea of Pearls. It was more like a fortress at the center of the sea than a ship. It wasn't in the shape of a ship at all. Below it was an indestructible mountain that seemed to have been nailed to the bottom of the ocean. 300 meters above the sea, there were stairs, corridors, and many windows. The higher they went, the more complicated the structure would be. It was like a small city had been built on a ship-shaped mountain. Luo Xiaobai said, the Pearl Divers like to call this place the Pearl Divers Port. This place has already become a small city. It's not as rich as the Scattered Stars Island, but it's not bad. Also, because this is the Sea of Pearls, the source of wealth for the Scattered Stars Island, the 1,000-star city, and the 36 towns, large transactions often happen here. Therefore, there are often extremely wealthy people who stay here. Han Fei's eyes glittered. Rich people. Luo Xiaobai glanced at him. Don't get any ideas. Because this place is very rich, it has all the facilities, and rare items are often auctioned here. You don't have to worry about any accidents during the auctions here. That's because at least 10 law enforcers are stationed in the Pearl Divers Port at any time. Everybody gasped and looked at Luo Xiaobai. Where are we going now? Luo Xiaobai said, to pay the fee and go to sea. We can't dive for pearls without permission. There's nothing interesting about the Pearl Divers Port, except that the buildings are different. The facilities here are the same as those on the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei asked, what about the auction? When will it be held? Luo Xiaobai said, I'm not sure. I've only read the files, and it might be held on the register. However, if there is an auction, it'll be posted at the registration office. A moment later, led by Luo Xiaobai, everybody set foot on a departure port. In fact, they didn't need to search for it. As long as they walked on the road to the departure port, they could see the steeple-shaped building about 3,000 meters away with their naked eyes. Apart from the building, the rest of the place was a plaza. Luo Xiaobai explained, the registration office has two functions. One is the handover service for pearl divers, and the other is the issuance of temporary sea passes. Recently, everyone knew that there was something wrong with the Sea of Pearls. Therefore, there are a lot of people who want to explore this place. When they walked to the registration office, Han Fei said, what if the temporary pass expires? Wouldn't it be troublesome if I had to keep coming here to renew the fee? Luo Xiaobai said, the temporary card I gave you is white. Once it expired, it would turn black. At that time, as long as you are in the Sea of Pearls, someone will come looking for you, and you can pay on the spot. Han Fei nodded. It's really expensive. 5,000 high-quality pearls a day. Isn't that too expensive? Lu Renkuang nodded quickly. That's true. It's too expensive. We need to catch more marine creatures. Luo Xiaobai said, no. The Sea of Pearls was filled with low-level creatures. Because of the diversity of species here, it's easier for the spiritual energy muscles to hunt and breed high-quality pearls. If you hunt them randomly, you'll be fined if you're caught. Han Fei and the others were all surprised. Was there such a rule? Han Fei thought for a moment and said, "Forget it. Speaking of which, once the temporary pass expires, they'll know it immediately, right? Also, they'll be able to locate us?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "That's right. The Sea of Pearls is not small. We'll stay here for 20 days. If we don't find anything wrong in 20 days, we'll leave." Han Fei nodded. "I agree." Lu Renkuang remarked with mixed feelings, 400,000 high-quality pearls, that's all? Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, "If so many people find out that there's something special about this place, it'll be worth more than 400,000. But I suspect that they're just trying to trick us out of our money." Luo Xiaobai shook her head and smiled casually. "Not yet." A moment later, on the way to the registration office, Han Fei found that most of the people in the crowd were only hanging fishers. Among them, there were quite a number of people with incomplete bodies. Some were missing an arm, some were missing half an arm, some had leg problems, and some were wearing masks. In fact, other than broken limbs that couldn't be regrown, many injuries could be healed. Otherwise, why would they need spirit gatherers? Luo Xiaobai said, "Most of them are from the battlefield. Most of these people are disabled, which means that even spirit gatherers can't do anything about their injuries. They don't have the money to hire stronger spirit gatherers or alchemists to buy medicine and see a doctor. So, they come to be pearl divers to make money. After they recover from their injuries, most people will not continue to be pearl divers." Finally, he walked to the registration office. Han Fei looked at the wall. However, there was no notice of the auction here. So, Han Fei entered the registration office. There was a hubbub of voices in the hall. Some of the reception windows were for pearl divers. The way to distinguish pearl divers was actually very simple. He only needed to see if there were any disabled people in the crowd, and they were basically pearl divers. Han Fei said, "Hello, 4 temporary waist tags for 20 days. The waiter said, "Please pay 400,000 high-quality pearls." When Han Fei and the others paid, they attracted a lot of attention. Luo Xiaobai and the others might be too outstanding. Someone in the team of pearl divers nearby asked in surprise, "Are people here to find the secrets of the Sea of Pearls again?" Someone slightly shook his head. "How many groups of people have come? Are they really unwilling to give up? Besides, the fireballs are not interesting at all." Someone said, "Idiot, did you see their waist tags? They are 6-star slaughterers, and only one is a 5-star blood guard. You can be slapped to death by that slap." The man smiled. "What are you scared of? This is the Pearl Divers' Port. Nothing has ever happened to anyone here." Han Fei overheard their conversation just now. He suddenly turned his head and looked at the two of them. "Brothers, do the fireballs you mentioned appear often?" Hearing Han Fei's sudden question, the two of them immediately shivered. One of them said, "My lord, the fireballs don't appear a lot. They are only discovered when we are picking pearls. But they only exist for a while before disappearing." Han Fei nodded. "What do the fireballs look like?" The pearl diver quickly said, "They're like flying disc corals. However, they're fatter than flying disc corals. Whenever they appear, there are always 3 or 4 of them in a row. They're blue and purple and quite bright. You can see them from a distance." The other person added, "Many people have seen the blue and purple flames. Some people observed them from a close distance, and some even touched them with their hands. However, they found that they were not hot at all." Han Fei asked in surprise, "Oh, so you've all seen them?" The two of them nodded. In the Sea of Pearls, almost all the pearl divers saw them after the earthquake. Then, they became fewer and fewer. Now they're barely seen. However, the mysterious flames are not the most famous. Han Fei smiled and asked, "Oh? Then what is it?" The man glanced at Han Fei and said in a low voice, "My lord, that's a secret." Han Fei glanced at the door, and the two of them smiled and soon followed Han Fei to the door. Han Fei asked, "That depends on how much your intelligence is worth." One of them chuckled and said, My lord, the pearl diver's port is not announced to the public. That's because many pearl divers have mysteriously gone missing recently. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes glittered. That makes sense. Otherwise, nobody would have paid much attention to a few fires after the earthquake, right? Luo Xiaobai looked at them and said, 100 high-quality pearls for each of you. The two of them didn't think it was too little and accepted the money with a smile. It was just an outdated intelligence, and they had earned 200 high-quality pearls. Why not? Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai and the others. It seems that there are indeed secrets. However, we seem to be late. Han Fei suddenly remembered that Luo Xiaobai mentioned something when he just came out of the Scattered Stars Island. However, Luo Xiaobai said it casually back then, so Han Fei didn't think much of it. It seemed that there were indeed secrets hidden in the Sea of Pearls. As the four of them walked out, Luo Xiaobai said, "We're indeed a bit late. Somebody must have been here to investigate. However, I'm thinking that if your little white fish is capable of tracking, maybe we still have a chance." Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang nodded quickly. They trusted Xiaobai very much. Han Fei chuckled. Then let's give it a try. If we can't find anything, we can consider this a vacation. After all, we've been on the Scattered Stars Island for a long time, and we haven't had a chance to gather together. This time, let's just treat it as an adventure. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang looked at Han Fei at the same time. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Hey, you were the one who was busy, weren't you? You were busy refining and then you stayed outside for such a long time." Han Fei chuckled. "It's not too late to start now. After all, there are still more than 2 years before we leave the Scattered Stars Island. That's enough for us to explore a lot of places." Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes cramped. He saw an acquaintance, Jiang Tong. When Han Fei saw Jiang Tong happened to see Han Fei too. This was a person with a very low sense of existence. When they worked together to cheat money in the wind, Thunder Town. Ba ba ba. When they worked together to make money, this Jiang Tong played a great role. Later, when he first came to the Scattered Stars Island, Han Fei also saw Jiang Tong in the Battle of the Heaven-Human Strait. Then, Han Fei didn't see him again. But at this moment, he found that Jiang Tong was already a hidden fisher, and his waist tag was the same as his, also a 6-star. At this moment, Han Fei suddenly realized that this person was not simple. He could get a 6-star quietly, faster than Lu Renquang. Besides, few people knew him. This made Han Fei quite curious. Seeing Han Fei, Jiang Tong looked away and was about to go to the registration hall. Han Fei immediately shouted, "Why are you running? Come on, long time no see. Shouldn't we catch up?" Jiang Tong looked back with a sad face. He didn't expect to meet Han Fei at this time. Jiang Tong smiled and said, "Oh, what a coincidence, what a coincidence. Are you pearl divers?" Han Fei replied with a fake smile, "Do you think the four of us look like pearl divers?" Jiang Tong glanced at the corner of his mouth. No. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 858. At this moment, on the crowded square of the Pearl Divers Port, Han Fei and the others were all looking at Jiang Tong with a smile, which made his blood freeze. "Good. Jiang Tong swallowed and said, "Well, I'm actually here for the auction." Han Fei was about to speak when Luo Xiaobai suddenly said, "That explains a lot. Han Fei, we're busy. Let's not catch up yet, shall we?" Han Fei was slightly surprised too, as were Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu. That wasn't Luo Xiaobai's style. Hearing Luo Xiaobai's words, Jiang Tong also said, "Well, Brother Han, let's talk later." Haha. Han Fei patted his shoulder with a smile. "Okay. I don't have time to chat with you today. See you later." A moment later, seeing that Han Fei and the others flew away on the boat, Jiang Tong took a long breath in relief and turned around. He did not go to the registration hall of the Pearl Divers Port at all. On a regular boat on the surface of the sea, Han Fei and Lu Renquang asked almost at the same time, "What did you find?" Luo Xiaobai asked, "Is there something wrong with the guy just now? I remember that I met him somewhere." Lu Renquang scratched his belly. "You don't remember?" At this moment, Han Fei's face slightly changed too. "There's something wrong with this guy. The first time I met him was outside of the undersea city in the level 3 fishery. At that time, he was rather mediocre. Although he was a heavenly talent, he felt that he was too weak. Later, I met him once in the Wind Thunder Town. Jiang Tong must have been quite strong at that time. The third time was in the Heavenly Human Canyon." Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Yes, I met him in the battle in the Heavenly Human Canyon. Normally speaking, it's not a problem for him to advance into a hidden fissure. However, I sensed a slight threat just now." Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang, however, were slightly surprised. Jiang Tong couldn't have made Luo Xiaobai feel threatened unless he was hiding a lot of his strength. Han Fei thought to himself that he didn't feel threatened at all, but he did some calculations just now. What he wanted to know was whether or not he would meet Jiang Tong in the future. In the end, it turned out to be nothing. There was not even the slightest bit of room for prediction. Then, something was wrong. He couldn't even calculate that? Zhang Xuanyu clapped his hands. "Anyway, something is wrong with this guy. Moreover, we just saw that there are no auctions in the near future." Lu Renquang nodded quickly. "Yes. We can guard against him. What if he has the same goal as us?" Luo Xiaobai said casually. "The Pearl Divers port is small, but it has a lot of business here. Perhaps this person has other matters to attend to." Han Fei smiled. "It doesn't matter. We have 20 days anyway. In the past, my daughter had remembered his scent. Just now I slapped him once and he was punished again." With that said, Han Fei's eyebrows flashed, and he said to Little White, "Smell that guy just now. Once he is more than 100 kilometers away, chase after him." Lu Renquang suddenly said, "If we're waiting for him, why don't we make a hot pot?" After half a day. Luo Xiaobai frowned. This was the 100th time someone had scanned them with their perception. He had to admit that he had traveled hundreds of thousands of kilometers and spent 400,000 high-quality pearls. In the end, the four of them were eating hot pot on the ship, which was a little ridiculous. Only Lu Renquang was eating happily. At this moment, he slurped a huge piece of fish and asked, "Are you all not going to eat?" Zhang Xuanyu said angrily, "Just eat, fatty." Luo Xiaobai said, "I've eaten too much. I'm a light eater right now." Han Fei picked up a huge piece of fish and put it into his mouth. Sometimes he counted his fingers. Suddenly Little White moved. It popped its head out of the water and swam in one direction. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes flashed. "I'll control the boat," Luo Xiaobai said. "He finally went to sea in less than 6 hours. It means that whatever it is, his target must be at sea." Han Fei smiled. "Who cares? If it's related to treasure troves, it'll be a coincidence. If it's not, we'll just pretend that we ran into each other again." About an hour later, a figure finally appeared in Han Fei's perception. "Stop!" Han Fei suddenly stopped him. Very soon, Han Fei discovered that Jiang Tong was not alone. There were 2 pearl divers in the water. Also, to Han Fei's surprise, he saw 4 clusters of blue and purple flames in the water. "Is it a coincidence?" Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei curiously. "What's wrong? I can't sense them." Han Fei said, 50 kilometers away. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, "Han Fei, your perception range has reached 50 kilometers?" Han Fei thought to himself, "I'm afraid that you'll be scared if I tell you." Han Fei said casually, "I found those blue and purple flames." Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, "You found them so easily?" Luo Xiaobai was stunned for a moment. "A coincidence? Wait, what else did you find?" Han Fei's lips curled. "Jiang Tong, 2 pearl divers. Lu Yi and Wang Qian used to work in the Guild of Fishers. They often fished near the sea. Due to an accident, they were attacked by inferior manfish. 8 members of a 10-person team were killed, and only the 2 of them were left. Although they were still alive, they were heavily wounded. One of Lu Ye's arms was gone, and half of Wang Qian's foot was cut off. Lu Yi said telepathically, "Old Wang, we've collected 800 pearls today. In the past, we could have collected 1,000 pearls in such a long time, right?" Wang Qian smiled. "Yes. I've only collected 200 high-quality pearls and more than 200 low-quality pearls. Forget it, I'm still short of 50. Let's have a drink after I collect 800. Lu Yi was amused. Great minds think alike. Just as the 2 of them finished speaking, they suddenly heard a few gurgle sounds. They thought that it was a big bubble floating to the surface of the water. Lu Yi subconsciously raised his head. "Hey, hey, hey! Old Wang, purple flames!" Wang Qian quickly jumped over a few coral reefs and found 4 clusters of purple flames floating dozens of meters away. Lu Yi was holding the coral and looking up. Wang Qian asked in surprise, "The quake happened a long time ago. Why are there still purple flames?" Lu Yi said with a smile, "I don't know. Look at the 4 clusters. They're lined up neatly. Where are they going?" Wang Qian snorted. "I don't know. Just follow them for a while. Let's pick pearls and look around. Logically speaking, it should dissipate in a while." Lu Yi collected another 2 high-quality pearls and put them away. "Okay. Let's watch for a while." About half an hour later, Wang Qian said, "I've collected 800 pearls. Forget it. I don't want to do this anymore. Let's go have a drink." Lu Yi asked curiously, "Old Wang, why do you think the purple flames haven't disappeared yet?" Wang Qian swam to it. "Why should I care about it? I'll slap it out." As he spoke, Wang Qian slapped a cluster of purple flames. Wang Qian seemed to be frozen after the slap, and his eyes became glazed. Lu Yi chuckled. "Keep pretending. You think I've never slapped one before? I've even put my hand in it before." While speaking, Lu Yi also swam over with a swish. He smiled and pushed Wang Qian. However, in the next second, he saw a ball of purple flames suddenly reflected in his eyes. Han Fei saw this scene clearly from a distance. In the next moment, he saw those balls of purple fire extinguish with a puff. Jiang Tong, on the other hand, jumped off the boat and swam to them. When Jiang Tong swam to them, he took out a pearl and showed it to them. Then, the 2 of them regained their senses. As for Jiang Tong, he simply controlled the boat to fly away after he boarded. Luo Xiaobai asked, "What's going on? Should we chase him?" Han Fei suddenly said. Jiang Tong ran away. Zhang Xuanyu turned around and was about to chase him on the boat. Han Fei said in a hurry, "No, wait. I found something." Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei in confusion. "What's wrong?" Han Fei thought for a moment. "Let's go to the sea. I'll set up a stealth array and a breath-concealing array on you. Let's not chase Jiang Tong but the pearl divers." "The pearl divers?" Luo Xiaobai was briefly stunned, but she nodded. Han Fei had his reasons to chase the pearl divers. In the Sea of Pearls, although there were frequent patrols, they weren't very strong. Those people would send out alarms when they found a dangerous target. However, Han Fei's temporary pass hadn't expired, and he had hidden himself, so few people paid attention to him. Besides, the slightly stronger people were also at the edge of the Sea of Pearls. In the Sea of Pearls, few experts would spend a long time perceiving them. A moment later, when Han Fei was only a few hundred meters away from the 2 pearl divers, Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, "Is there something wrong with them?" Lu Renquang was also confused. "They're just regular pearl divers." Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, "Han Fei, I believe you. There's definitely something wrong with them." Han Fei tilted his head and looked at him. "Why are you so sure?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "It's because I trust my brother." Han Fei rolled his eyes. However, he still told the 2 of them about what he had just seen. After hearing it, Zhang Xuanyu asked in surprise, "Didn't you say that the fire wouldn't hurt anyone?" Han Fei sneered. "It won't hurt anyone, but it can make them lost." Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "That's not right. If the purple fire can make people lost, what was the meaning of the pearl that Jiang Tong showed them?" Han Fei speculated, "That's why I want to follow them instead of Jiang Tong. I estimate that the purple fire is only temporary. Many people may be lost, but they'll recover very soon. Naturally, they won't think that there's anything wrong with the purple fire. But what if they're completely lost?" Han Fei suddenly looked at Zhang Xuanyu and said, "Do you remember the blue fish in the abyssal chasm?" Zhang Xuanyu's eyelids shivered, and he said solemnly, "Are you saying that the pearl in Jiang Tong's hand can make people completely lost?" Luo Xiaobai added, "Is Jiang Tong lost himself too?" Chapter 859. Luo Xiaobai's question piqued Han Fei's curiosity. That's right. The two of them must have been bewitched, but they were still picking pearls. Although the frequency of their harvesting had decreased, their behavior did not arouse any suspicions. However, Han Fei heard their conversation just now. So, Han Fei couldn't help but be suspicious. At this moment, Han Fei couldn't help but say, "Keep following me. I'll pretend to be someone else and greet them." Han Fei thought to himself, "I'm really lucky to run into an acquaintance the moment I arrived at the Pearl Diver's port." As it happened, there was something wrong with the acquaintance, and the problem happened to be related to the purpose of his trip. A moment later, Han Fei changed his clothes and face and blocked Wang Qian and Lu Yezhui, as if he were searching for something. Very soon, the two of them had picked pearls all the way here. When they saw Han Fei, they were stunned for a moment and then tried to avoid him. After all, Han Fei's identity as a slaughterer made them very nervous. Seeing them, Han Fei's lips curled. Why didn't they use their senses? If they had sensed him earlier, they would have avoided him sooner. Why did they not avoid him until they were dozens of meters away? Han Fei couldn't help but ask them telepathically, "Hey, have you heard of anyone collecting black pearls around here?" Lu Yi replied, "Sir, I've never heard of it." Wang Qian was slightly stunned too. Then, he shook his head and said no. Han Fei pretended to nod and ignored the two of them, swimming in another direction. After Han Fei swam 30 kilometers away, Lu Yi and Wang Qian began to speed up. A moment later, Han Fei returned to Luo Xiaobai and Lu Yi and said clearly, "These two people have been bewitched. If they hadn't activated their senses, I would have thought that they might have been possessed." Luo Xiaobai asked, "Are you so sure?" Han Fei said with a smile, "Very sure. Although they haven't been possessed, they must have been manipulated. If my guess is correct, it must have been Jiang Tong." Lu Renquang suggested, "Then why don't we just capture Jiang Tong and ask him? What are we waiting for?" Zhang Xuanyu scoffed. "Idiot, Jiang Tong is not an idiot. Why would he tell you his secrets? Do you have a fish brain?" Luo Xiaobai frowned and said, "Something's not right. What a coincidence. We ran into Jiang Tong as soon as we arrived at the Pearl Diver's port. You happen to know him, and he happens to be related to this purple flame?" Han Fei scratched his head. "I've thought about that too, but I don't understand." Luo Xiaobai said, "Be careful anyway. I keep feeling that something is amiss." Lu Renquang asked, "Then should we go back?" Zhang Xuanyu smiled casually and said, "Go back? If the four of us can't even defeat Jiang Tong, then we can forget about finding the secret of the Sea of Pearls." Han Fei agreed. "Whether there's a problem or not, let's follow them and take a look. There are tens of millions of mystic realms and countless villains. If we are overcautious and indecisive when encountering something, what's the point of exploring?" The few of them discussed and continued to follow. During this time, there were at least a few dozen senses that swept over Lu Yi and Wang Qian. However, the two of them were just pure pearl divers at the moment, so no one felt that they were special. Han Fei and the others had to be careful all the time. Whenever Han Fei sensed the presence of others, he would pause the tracking. He wouldn't continue until other people passed by. Han Fei couldn't help but feel that it would have been great if the hexagon starfish were here. That guy could have easily led them to follow them. They followed and stopped for about 10 hours. When the moon was high in the sky and the stars were everywhere, many pearl divers had returned to the pearl divers' port. Lu Yi and Wang Qian suddenly stopped. The two of them simply crouched in the coral reef in a daze. Wait, gently, there seemed to be a faintly discernible melody suddenly rippling in this dark sea region. Han Fei looked at everybody. Did you hear anything? Zhang Xuanyu asked in surprise. Are you hallucinating? Lu Renquang shook his head. No. It's very quiet. There's no sound at all. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei in confusion. Although I didn't hear anything, those two people seemed to have stopped. Chilla. Bam. 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 All of a sudden, thousands of purple flames popped up out of nowhere. Han Fei's face changed greatly. Not good. It's an ambush. The moment the purple flames appeared, Luo Xiaobai had tied their waists with vines in case of any accidents, so that they could be ready for battle at any time. The purple flames died out in the blink of an eye. An invisible barrier enshrouded Han Fei and the others. Han Fei and the others didn't move at all. However, when the purple flames were gone, they had left the Sea of Pearls and appeared in an unknown place. Why were they so sure? It was because they found themselves in an enormous cave. What was visible to the naked eye was that the walls of the cave were full of blue and silver stars, as if they had come to the habitat of fireflies. It was very humid here, but there was only a little water and air to breathe. Han Fei even felt that the light here was too dreamy, like the infinite luminous seaweeds in the 10,000 Demon Valley. However, the only color in this place was blue. In the darkness there was a kind of breathtaking beauty. Han Fei asked solemnly, "Do you know how you got here?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "I don't know. It seems to be some sort of teleportation array. Also, perception doesn't work here. I think we've found the secret of the Sea of Pearls." Zhang Xuanyu remarked, "It's true that we can't perceive it. However, the scenery here isn't bad." Han Fei sneered. The more beautiful a person is, the greater unknown horrors are often hidden beneath. Also, our journey was too smooth. It seems that someone intentionally lured us here. Lu Renquang's face shivered. Jiang Tong. Didn't you recognize him? Luo Xiaobai's eyes were cold. The blue spots of light around are cocoons. Don't alarm them yet. Let's just walk along the road. After all, the two people just now were also surrounded by the purple flames, but we didn't see them. Lu Renquang shivered and said, "I hate bugs the most." Han Fei said, "Why are you panicking? The bugs aren't a problem, but the secret here is. The pearl divers probably went missing just like that. If we hadn't noticed Jiang Tong's anomaly at the beginning, we wouldn't have suspected anything even if we found the two bewildered guys on the way." The cave was winding and not small at all. After walking for about 3,000 meters, Han Fei and the others all gasped at a corner. "His Gudu!" Lu Renquang gasped and said, "I don't think I can use the sky-swallowing technique here." Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. Thousands of corpses were hanging on the ceiling of the cave in front of them. Looking at the commonly seen broken arms and limbs, everybody knew that they were all pearl divers. The bodies of these pearl divers were covered in pearls. However, the pearls were emitting a faint blue light, which made them look particularly eerie and terrifying. Zhang Xuanyu said in a low voice, "So many pearl divers died here? Nobody noticed them at all?" Luo Xiaobai frowned hard. "That's not right. Some of the bodies are completely dry, and some don't have any flesh. It's obvious that these pearl divers have been accumulating for God knows how many years to accumulate so many pearls." Lu Renquang pointed at the two pearl divers at the front and said, "Look, they're the two we followed." Han Fei and the others naturally noticed them. The two of them were now hanging from the ceiling of the cave, suspended by something that looked like spider silk. Around them were blue-silver pupae that were moving towards the two of them. Han Fei said casually, "Their spiritual energy has completely dissipated. They're already dead." Luo Xiaobai said, "It seems that the Sea of Pearls is more dangerous than we thought. Let's keep moving forward." Han Fei nodded and glanced at Lu Renkuang. "Fat people are meaty. Insects like them." Lu Renkuang rolled his eyes at Han Fei and panicked. He wasn't scared of fighting, but he was scared of the horrifying scenes. It looked beautiful, but when you saw thousands of corpses hanging on the ceiling, you wouldn't find it beautiful anymore. You would only feel creeped out. The four of them walked for about 10 kilometers before they finally passed the passage where the corpses were hanging. "Who?" Zhang Xuanyu was relieved. "It's quite stressful to have so many people hanging above our heads all the time." Han Fei said with a casual smile, "Now, there's even greater pressure." Luo Xiaobai said, "Prepare for battle. The insects are coming." Around the cave, a large area of blue and silver cocoons began to crack. Droplets of blue liquid dripped out of the pupae. Chilla! When the blue water dripped in midair, it suddenly turned into a bluish-purple flame. Wasn't it exactly the purple fire in the Sea of Pearls? Lu Renkuang shrieked, "Are they insects or flames?" Han Fei was also thinking. He didn't see any information about the purple fire when he saw it earlier. At this moment Han Fei said, "I'll take a look. Don't move." Luo Xiaobai said, "Be careful." Han Fei grinned. Can a few flames and a few insects really turn the world upside down? Han Fei strode forward quickly, and seawater floated up from the ground and followed Han Fei. Han Fei used the metamorphosis water and turned it into palm-sized daggers. More and more of them appeared, and in the end, they were densely packed behind him. Whenever he sensed something wrong, he would sweep away the purple fire first. Third, asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 860. Welcoming the new leader's name, 123, Han Fei strode forward and didn't stop until he was 30 meters away from the purple flames. There was no information in his eyes. However, Han Fei did find something wrong. He felt that his eyes were blurred, and some power seemed to be trying to control his mind. Han Fei immediately took out a peppermint leaf and stuffed it into his mouth. Immediately, Han Fei's head was clear. He thought to himself, "The peppermint leaf is really useful." The feeling of being in a trance just now disappeared in an instant. Han Fei extended a finger, and a void line hooked at one of the purple flames. "Ah, wait for me." At that moment, Han Fei clearly heard a gentlewoman singing. Her voice was as pleasant as the sound of nature. Han Fei immediately recalled the void lines and walked to the rock wall not far away. Lu Renkuang shouted from behind, "Han Fei, take it easy. Don't get too close." Han Fei ignored him. It wasn't until this moment that information appeared in his eyes. Name Charming Cocoon Introduction. The evil clam girl absorbs the essence of the sun and the moon and infects the souls of the dead with her song. She turns into a charming cocoon to confuse pearl divers. Once infected by the charming cocoon, she will gradually lose herself. Note: the evil devours souls and will slowly recover. Clam girl. Han Fei's eyes slightly constricted. He returned to Luo Xiaobai and the others and quickly took out a handful of peppermint leaves. "Everyone, keep one in your mouth. If you feel absent-minded, keep a few more in your mouth." Luo Xiaobai asked in confusion, "What's this?" Han Fei explained, "The leaves of the wisteria white vanilla. They can make your mind clearer. You won't be confused if you keep them in your mouth." Zhang Xuanyu shook his head and quickly grabbed 2 leaves, stuffing them into his mouth. He gasped and said, "No wonder I was absent-minded. I almost yawned just now." Lu Renkuang, who had been highly nervous, was fine. However, he also quickly picked the peppermint leaves and stuffed them into his mouth. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei with a leaf in her mouth. "Are you saying that the cocoon can confuse people?" Zhang Xuanyu asked in surprise. "Then what do we do?" "More and more cocoons have been broken. Balls of purple flames appear one after another. If they pounce on us later, won't we all be bewitched? Lu Renkuang swallowed and asked, will we be hung on the ceiling too? Voila! Han Fei suddenly unfolded the phantom glass wings. He flapped his wings and a gust of wind swept out, trying to blow away the purple flames. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the purple flames being blown away. Lu Renkuang was relieved. So it can be blown. Then let's blow it all the way. Han Fei said, actually, is there a simpler way? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes. Zhang Xuanyu asked, what is it? Han Fei looked at Lu Renkuang maliciously and said, let Lu Renkuang swallow the purple flames and the cocoons. Hiss. I won't do it, I definitely won't do it. Lu Renkuang had goosebumps. Are you kidding me? You want me to swallow such a disgusting thing? Han Fei sneered. Why are you panicking? After all, using the wind to blow on it would not solve the root of the problem. However, if it is swallowed by you, it will be completely swallowed into the unknown. The purple flames, after losing the connection with this cave, will dissipate in a moment. What are you afraid of? Lu Renkuang closed his mouth tightly. I don't eat this. I'm a picky eater. Han Fei didn't say anything more and said lightly, let's keep moving forward. By the way, if you hear a woman singing, remember to tell me. Luo Xiaobai suddenly looked at Han Fei. Did you hear something? Han Fei casually made up an excuse. There was a voice just now trying to bewitch me. Fortunately, I reacted quickly. Immediately, they were all alarmed. Han Fei was the only one who heard it. They were all blocked out, which was terrifying. Luo Xiaobai said, okay, Lu Renkuang, remember to use the sky swallowing technique. Lu Renkuang's face turned pale. I like eating, but I don't like eating bugs. Immediately, he shook his head like a rattle. The flesh on his face was shaking. Han Fei and the others ignored Lu Renkuang and continued to walk forward. Every once in a while, Han Fei flapped his wings. Although the phantom glass wings didn't have the ability to set off violent gales, they could still set off strong gales. Soon, after walking for less than a kilometer, the number of purple flames and pupae that were being fanned into the depths of the forest increased. Countless charm cocoons were broken one after another. At this moment, the entire cave was filled with purple flames. Ah, clatter, clatter! Zhang Xuanyu suddenly said, sounds. Luo Xiaobai immediately controlled the vines and wrapped them with another vine. Whoop! A gust of wind rolled up, but the purple flames retreated dozens of meters. Immediately afterward, they pounced on them again, like pervasive smoke that couldn't be blown away. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Quang, now is the time. Swallow. I don't. As soon as Lu Renkuang shouted, he was dragged forward by the vines. He shouted, I don't eat bugs. Great sky swallowing technique, hum. A huge black hole appeared, and endless purple flames and charm cocoons frantically swept into the big black hole that Lu Renkuang opened. TSK. What a super high-powered range hood. Everyone. Clatter. The sound became louder and louder as if trying to confuse Lu Renkuang. Han Fei shouted, Zhang Xuanyu, attack the purple flames with your soul. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. Soul explosion. Hum, the cave was trembling and the purple flames were jumping wildly. Puff! Zhang Xuanyu's nose was spurting blood. However, Lu Renkuang's sky-swallowing technique became more and more violent, and the purple flames were swallowed by him like a tornado. With a harsh scream, Han Fei held the golden seal in his hand and slapped it in the air, and the big seal directly sank into the purple flames. Ho! There seemed to be a dragon roar echoing. This was the only means of attack that Han Fei could use to shock the soul. Although he wasn't proficient in it, he could resist it for a while. Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu hurriedly stuffed a few peppermint leaves into their mouth. Even Han Fei was in a trance and almost lost control. As for Lu Renkuang, there was a soul barrier outside his body, which was Zhang Xuanyu's method. This guy used his soul power to protect Lu Renkuang. After more than 10 minutes, the purple flames gradually disappeared. Ew! The sky-swallowing technique disappeared, and Lu Renkuang retched again and again, saying, "Fortunately, I didn't eat it, or I would have been disgusted." Han Fei spat out the peppermint leaves in his mouth, and took out a large handful. "Take a handful each. We may have to eat more later." Luo Xiaobai said, "The key to the danger is not these cocoons and purple flames, but that voice. There is someone deep in the cave." Han Fei nodded. "Let's go." They walked all the way, and after about 5,000 meters, Lu Renkuang swallowed the purple flames again. Since then, the owner of the voice seemed to have found that the purple flames were useless and never appeared again. Luo Xiaobai said, "The cave is getting wider and wider. Be careful." After a while, Zhang Xuanyu wondered, "Have we entered the gravity field?" Han Fei vaguely felt something was wrong. He could always feel that the pressure on his body was getting heavier and heavier. But this was definitely not the gravity field. It seemed that there was an invisible force pulling him. Fuse! Luo Xiaobai and the others couldn't help but look at him when they heard Han Fei's words. Han Fei's face suddenly became indifferent. In his black and white pupils, Han Fei saw dense invisible threads hanging on him and the others. F***ck, I knew something was wrong. Swish, swish, swish. The infinity water turned into invisible water knives, waving and slashing crazily around them. When they saw it, they immediately realized that there was something in the nothingness that forced Han Fei to cut it apart. However, to everyone's surprise, after Han Fei switched to the yin-yang divine eyes, the power seemed to be very strange. For some reason, the knives slashed out by the infinity water seemed to be a little black and white. After the infinity water slashed, the pressure on everyone was relieved. Han Fei said indifferently, "Let's go, keep moving forward." After walking for less than 800 meters, Han Fei and the others suddenly saw the light. This was a large cave with a radius of less than 500 meters, and above it was a cylindrical cavity up to a kilometer high. On the surrounding rock walls, there were dense charm chrysalises. Lu Renkuang gasped, "How long will it take to swallow them?" And in the center of the cave, the most eye-catching thing was a huge clamshell nearly 100 meters long. The clamshell was open, and a gentlewoman with half-exposed clothes was sitting curled up inside, looking at the four of them with a smile. In the clamshell there were all kinds of pearls. There were high-quality pearls, ultra-quality pearls, black pearls, and colorful pearls. And in front of the clamshell stood a person. It was none other than Jiang Tong. However, at this moment, Jiang Tong seemed to not know Han Fei and the others and looked a little dull. From Han Fei's yin-yang divine eyes, he saw that Jiang Tong's body was entangled with those thin, imperceptible threads. Clam girl. Luo Xiaobai frowned. It's rumored that there are records of clam girls, but they are very vague. However, clam girls seem to be a very gentle, intelligent race of the sea, but this one, Han Fei said indifferently, this one is evil. Jiang Tong has been controlled. However, he is not important. Zhang Xuanyu, you deal with him. Remember to put some leaves in your mouth. Don't be confused by the pearl in his hand. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, "Okay." Luo Xiaobai took the initiative to say, "Quang, these chrysalises are yours." Lu Renkuang said with a sad face, "Okay. Okay." The woman in the clamshell said, "You can only blame yourself for noticing that something was wrong with him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have provoked you." Han Fei sneered. "So, you asked him to deliberately lead us here?" As Han Fei spoke, he walked forward step by step. Luo Xiaobai frowned and wrapped her vines around Han Fei. At the same time, all kinds of vines began to emerge everywhere in the entire cave. Dark blue flower buds appeared between the vine leaves, waiting to bloom. Chapter 861. Han Fei ventured forward because he wanted to see how strong the clam girl was. Or was the muscle still alive? However, what he saw made Han Fei's blood freeze. Information popped up in his head. Name: Enchanting Muscle Demon. Introduction. In ancient times, a clam girl with a special bloodline perished. She regained her consciousness by absorbing the remaining souls in the sea. For some reason, she mutated into an enchanting muscle demon. She can control the mystic lines and bewilder creatures. If she is controlled for a long time, she will be forced to sign a master-servant contract with her. Level 62 Spiritual Energy 24520 Demon Heritage Level 7 Mid-Quality Level C Spirit Law Enforcer Enchanting Companion Spirit Star Shell Unabsorbable. Note: the star shell can establish a mysterious independent space. It will be worn away in the star shell until it becomes a glittering pearl. Han Fei's blood froze. A sea spirit expert was definitely not a timid creature like the wind sky wings, but a real sea spirit expert. Also, Han Fei looked at the enormous shell. Although it was covered in dirt, he could still tell that the shell was heavy. Some parts of the shell even had the color of jade. Han Fei didn't dare to cancel his yin-yang divine eyes, because he suspected that the muscle was the star shell. Rather horrified, Han Fei sensed that his strength had been weakened by about 10%. Han Fei immediately roared, "Cover yourselves with spiritual energy. Also, this space is eating away at our strength." Then, Han Fei looked at the clam demon and said, "You've only just become a sea spirit. Are you sure you want to fight us?" Luo Xiaobai and the others all changed their expressions when Han Fei mentioned the sea spirit. A sea spirit expert. In their eyes, it was equivalent to a law enforcer. Luo Xiaobai immediately reminded him, "Han Fei, sea spirits usually have some special talent abilities. How did you find out? Your eyes?" The clam girl smiled faintly. Her words were like a faintly discernible melody that could move one's soul. Han Fei stepped back and looked at the clam girl. "If you don't open this space in 3 seconds, we'll kill you." While Han Fei spoke, he tried to extend the void lines into the shell. The smile on the clam girl's face suddenly froze, and her clamshell immediately closed. At that moment, she did not know why, but she felt fear. Seeing the clam girl's reaction, Han Fei knew that the void lines made her feel a sense of crisis. "Do it." Without a word, Han Fei crushed a jade slip in his hand. That was the ancient seal given by Mu Jia. Han Fei hadn't used it yet. At that moment, a terrifying pillar of fire shot towards the clam girl. Creak! Clang! The echo lingered in the empty valley. The strike of this peak-level hidden fissure was easily resisted by the clamshell. Almost at the same time, all the cocoons of confusion in the cave split open. Streaks of seemingly solid purple flames whistled down. Some of the pupae didn't turn into purple flames, but turned into wriggling blue and purple bugs that clung to the wall, as if they were guarding against Lu Renquang's sky-swallowing technique. Violent war body. Majestic mystic spell. Lu Renquang's skin turned red, and his body seemed to be on fire. Faced with a sea spirit, he, as a peak-level hanging fisher, didn't dare to be careless. Divine Turtle Shield, Infinite Defense. This was the power that Lu Renquang obtained from the mysterious old turtle in the Level 3 fishery. It had a strong defense power and covered him. Why did Lu Renquang only protect himself? Because everyone had their own mission. What he needed to do was to block these cocoons of confusion. Grand Sky Swallowing Technique. Countless purple flames and many insects that were stuck to the walls of the cave were sucked out and swallowed by a huge, pitch-black mouth. Zhang Xuanyu's soul was strong. He roared, "Fuse!" In a bloody shadow, a ferocious shark disappeared into Zhang Xuanyu's body. At this moment, his spiritual energy was dyed red, and his eyes were bloodshot as he charged at Jiang Tong. Jiang Tong's eyes lit up. 2 long knives appeared in his hands, and a blood-red shell appeared. Not only did it condense into a blood-red armor on his body, but it also doubled his combat power. Momentary time. Zhang Xuanyu naturally used the majestic mystic spell to. Facing someone controlled by a sea spirit, He didn't dare to be careless. Since Jiang Tong had been bewitched, he must have become a simple puppet. Luo Xiaobai looked around. Lu Renkuang's attraction power was terrifying, but not all the bugs that looked like colloids were absorbed. Some of them even crawled down the wall. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. You take care of the clam demon. We can't attack her until her shell is broken. As she talked, Luo Xiaobai's pupils turned white, and weird flowers blossomed. A colorful mist spread out in the cave. Han Fei looked hideous, and a tall, brawny man appeared next to him. A blue soul fire was split from Han Fei and entered the overlord's body. Shwa, 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 clang, clang, clang. Snowmorn's terrifying power landed on the star shell, and the domineering and powerful attack directly shattered the filth that covered the star shell. In an instant, a large jade-colored shell appeared, and Frostmourne left white marks on it. Ah! A scream came from the star shell. How can you have a sea-quelling bizarre treasure? Han Fei sneered. What's wrong with a sea-quelling bizarre treasure? You're just a sea spirit that can only bewitch other people. You dare not fight me head-on, so you can die now. Dumb. Dumb, inside the star shell, the clam girl seemed to be playing a weird melody that echoed in the air. Zhang Xuanyu, who had just pierced Jiang Tong's stomach with his spear, staggered and began to spin, as if he were caught in an illusion. Lu Renkuang's eyes were blurred too, and the great sky swallowing technique seemed to be collapsing at any moment. Luo Xiaobai, on the other hand, vomited a mouthful of blood. She had no advantage in the battle here. Obviously, the jade-like shell was not something that she could break with her attack power. At this moment, she felt that she was about to be caught in an illusion too. In the last moment, she saw Zhang Xuanyu waving his spear and stabbing at Han Fei, only to be pulled away by her. Han Fei's face changed greatly and his head was clouded. Everything he saw seemed to be overlapping. However, the yin-yang divine eyes seemed to have the effect of restraining illusions too, so he flapped his wings and appeared 100 meters away. A crimson fist mark smashed at Jiang Tong, who was slashing at Zhang Xuanyu with a weird long knife. Boom! Jiang Tong was only being controlled, but it didn't mean that his strength had been improved to an incredible level. Even a hidden fisher would be killed by Han Fei's punch without the terrifying defense of the star shell if he didn't have the Overlord's technique. After so many days of fighting, Han Fei's strength had already exceeded 2 million kilograms. Plus the Overlord's technique, it was equivalent to more than 16 million kilograms, or almost 8,000 tons. Usually, when they were sparring, it would be fine if they hit it. But now, at the critical moment of life and death, Jiang Tong was almost crushed by Han Fei in the blink of an eye. A terrifying force landed on the star shell, causing it to flip several times on the ground. In the end, it hit the rock wall heavily with a beam. Even the rock wall began to crack, and the rocks above fell one after another. Han Fei opened his mouth and fed himself a cluster of candle dragon blood. Although the candle dragon blood could only be used 5 times, Han Fei didn't care at all. Even if he didn't have the candle dragon blood, he still had the energy fruit. The melodious music came to an abrupt end. Han Fei was confident that even if the star shell was above level 60, it wouldn't be able to survive his sacrificing punch. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang were both stunned. Zhang Xuanyu asked in shock, "What did I do just now?" Luo Xiaobai breathed heavily and said, "Lu Renkuang, keep swallowing." Lu Renkuang nodded and performed the sky swallowing technique again. He looked at the rock wall that was full of cracks and was rather shocked by Han Fei. How much strength did Han Fei use to create such terrifying damage? Seizing the opportunity, Han Fei quickly stuffed an ultra-quality demonic stone into the Overlord's body. Under the Overlord's continuous slashes, the star shell had been resisting the terrifying attacks. However, the Overlord's battery ran out after only 20 slashes, and he had to replace it. Luo Xiaobai didn't let go of the opportunity. The cave had been covered by all kinds of plants. The moment Han Fei bombarded the star shell, it slightly opened its mouth. Seizing the opportunity, Luo Xiaobai simply stuffed vines into it. It was a pity that the star shell closed after only a few vines were inserted into it. At this moment, Luo Xiaobai pointed her finger. Deep blue, poison explosion. The clam girl's voice echoed in the cave. I didn't expect that a junior hidden fisher could have more than one wave of power. However, you can't break the shell. You'll only be waiting to die if you stay here. Han Fei sneered. Let's see. Han Fei suddenly flew to the sky and activated the agility of wind. He ran as fast as lightning in midair. He was accumulating his strength. Han Fei was like a bolt of lightning. With the agility of wind, which was 3 times the normal speed, Han Fei estimated that even Yi Baiyu would be amazed by his speed. Hide in Lu Renkuang's shield. Luo Xiaobai reacted quickly and dragged Zhang Xuanyu into the black turtle shield. In the next second, scorching sparks were raised in the air due to the friction. Boom! He performed the sacrificing punch with terrifying strength and unparalleled speed. Rumble! The rock wall collapsed and was instantly shattered. Han Fei punched the star shell dozens of meters into the mountain. Crack! Hearing the cracking noises from the star shell, the void chains hooked him, and he retreated while he drank another mouthful of candle dragon blood. At this moment, his arm was already dripping with blood. Craziness beamed out of Han Fei's eyes, and he pulled the star shell out. You're just a clam girl. Although you're good at hypnotizing me, I'll kill you if you can't hypnotize me. I'm begging for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 862. Han Fei tried to hook the soul of the star shell with the void lines. However, the void lines failed. They couldn't catch it at all, as if this giant clamshell didn't have a soul. Is it inside the clamshell? Dumb. Right at this moment, an earth-shattering sound wave came crashing down like a raging river. The clam girl fell silent. She couldn't control Han Fei, but she could control the other 3. Instantly, Lu Renkuang stopped the sky-swallowing technique, opened his armor box, and attacked Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu. Because of the toughness of his soul, Zhang Xuanyu didn't attack, but he was struggling and was about to attack. Luo Xiaobai was bleeding, but she was not bewitched. Her soul seemed to be protected. At this moment, countless vines covered her and Zhang Xuanyu. Han Fei flashed in front of Lu Renkuang and knocked him away with a single blow. Clang! 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 The Overlord was attacking the shell of the star shell crazily. Unfortunately, while the sea-quelling bizarre treasures were powerful, they depended on who was using them. The power of the Overlord reached the level of an advanced hidden fisher, but it still couldn't cut this damn shell. Han Fei thought that he was already very powerful, but he only managed to leave a few cracks on the star shell. It seemed that it was not enough to break it. Seeing that even Luo Xiaobai was about to be hypnotized, Han Fei split the void lines into 3 and cast them on them. Han Fei roared, "Don't resist." Luo Xiaobai seemed to have sensed something wrong and struggled to say, "I have soul-type treasures." Hearing that, Han Fei simply cast the void lines at Lu Renkuang and Zhang Xuanyu. Zhang Xuanyu heard what Han Fei said and didn't resist, but Lu Renkuang was really caught in the illusion and was resisting crazily. Han Fei directly hooked 3 void lines to Lu Renkuang and turned them into 9. At that moment, Han Fei seemed to see a lot of pictures and information. For example, the little fatty was already fat when he was only a few years old. For example, Lu Renkuang was so hungry that he had to pick up food everywhere before his spiritual heritage was revealed. For example, Lu Renkuang didn't have parents at all. They seemed to have died in the fishery. Han Fei hurried to cut off the soul peeping. The next moment, Lu Renkuang calmed down and the million knife art returned. Zhang Xuanyu's face was twisted, and Luo Xiaobai was resisting the bewitching voice. Han Fei, on the other hand, recovered his strength and looked at the star shell. "How many times do you think I can launch the attack just now?" There was no sound from the star shell, and Han Fei used the same tactic again. After a while, Rumble, Kacha. The rocks were collapsing, but the infinity water was sweeping above Han Fei's head. This time, Han Fei reacted quickly and extended the 4 void lines into the muscle's mouth. In fact, he had already refined all the dragon veins when he returned to the Scattered Stars Island from the Wind Sky Canyon. There were 10 in total, and 9 of them were from Han Guanshu. Isn't that right? He controlled Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu with 3 void lines and left 6 void lines to deal with the clam girl. Unfortunately, he only managed to stick 4 fingers in before the clam's mouth closed. With a thought from Han Fei, the 4 void lines were divided into 12 and hooked inside the clam's shell. There was no telling what they hooked, but Han Fei didn't feel good. His face was bleeding. A very strong soul power was resisting and tearing at him. Since the confounding clam demon could enchant all living beings, its soul power couldn't be weak. Han Fei had hooked the clam demon's soul by force, which was just a counterattack, but he was at a disadvantage. Han Fei was shocked. Thanks to the help of the god's scaring painting, his soul had grown much faster than ordinary people's. Also, he had harvested ownerless souls in the ancient 72-floor demon realm. Otherwise, he would have been defeated the moment they met. The god scaring painting? Han Fei immediately thought of the god scaring painting in his head. Although he had only memorized 60 pieces of the god scaring painting, which was less than 1/10 of the total, it was his hope at this moment. Come on, come on. It's a divine painting anyway. A miserable scream came from the star clam. Han Fei coughed a mouthful of blood and subconsciously opened his eyes. Han Fei grinned. It worked. Although he hadn't memorized the entire god-scaring painting, he didn't know if it could be used to kill enemies. But it did seem to be useful at this moment. Han Fei sensed that the mouth of the clam was slightly open. The clam girl was too focused on the competition with Han Fei to pay attention to other people. The Overlord's battery ran out and it stayed where it was. Luo Xiaobai came back to herself and hurried to control the vines to crawl into the clam. At this moment, Han Fei felt a great mental pressure, and he seemed to be trying to close the clam. However, how could Han Fei let her do that? At this moment, the remaining 2 void lines extended in 2. Han Fei went crazy. Back then, it took him 5 void lines to subdue the Wind Sky Wing. You're 1 level lower than the Wind Sky Wing. I don't believe that I can't defeat you with 6 void lines. Han Fei even broke out of the fusion crazily and roared, "Little Black, go in and bite her." Han Fei instantly recalled Little White into Forge the Universe while he fought the clam girl. Little Black simply crawled into the opening. At the same time, a lot of vines crawled in too. The mournful cry rang out once more. He could even imagine Little Black's frantic devouring. If the clam girl dared to bewitch Little Black, that would be even better. When Little Black went crazy, even he himself felt horrified. Of course, it didn't exclude the possibility that the clam girl herself had a powerful attack that could kill Xiao He directly. Therefore, Han Fei was gambling. If he lost the bet, he wouldn't be able to summon Little Black and Little White for a while. If he won the bet, he would win the battle. As long as either Little Black or Little White was alive, neither of them would die. This was also one of his trump cards. Mournful cries rang out one after another. Han Fei was trying to control the clam girl, but weird and bloody pictures popped up in his head. It was a terrifying battle. The picture was incomplete, but it seemed to be a battle between sea monsters and humans. He saw the sword gleam that pierced through the sky. It seemed that there was a big muscle blocking the attack, but the muscle was cut in half. Following that, the scene was no longer that of a battlefield. It was countless wriggling, enchanting chrysalises that were killing the pearl divers. About 10 seconds later, Han Fei found that he was more and more relaxed. The star shell seemed to be unable to be closed anymore. Han Fei saw that vines and seaweed were spreading out of the muscle meat. "I'm going to win. Han Fei immediately recalled the void lines on Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang and sent the 4 void lines into the shell again. At this moment, all 10 void lines had been hooked to the clam girl and the star shell. What confused Han Fei was that although the clam girl struggled less, he didn't feel that she was completely under his control. Is it because my soul isn't strong enough? While Han Fei and the clam girl were fighting each other's souls, he suddenly heard the clam girl begging for mercy miserably. Let me go. Please let me go. I can sign a master-servant contract with you. At this moment, Zhang Xuanyu had already come back to himself. Lu Renquang sat on the ground and held his head, trying to raise it. Zhang Xuanyu cursed, Han Fei, don't trust this demon. Her voice had the power to bewitch people. Kill her. Kill this son of a bitch. Luo Xiaobai only said one word, kill. Let me go. I have treasures. I know where the sea-quelling bizarre treasure is, Han Fei cursed. What do you know? Do you think I care about the sea-quelling bizarre treasure? As he spoke, Han Fei controlled the infinity water to cut into the shell crazily. His advantage was growing, and the star shell's opening was getting bigger and bigger. Under the dual attacks of Luo Xiaobai and Little Black, Han Fei's resistance was getting smaller and smaller. The clam girl stopped screaming, and Han Fei stopped talking. Han Fei was thinking to himself, I'll kill you no matter what you try to tempt me with. But suddenly, Han Fei paused for a moment. It was because he saw the sea token and someone he didn't know at all in the clam girl's soul. Han Fei immediately said, Xiaobai, stop. Luo Xiaobai glanced at Han Fei and stopped attacking. But Han Fei didn't stop Little Black. He said coldly, tell me where the sea-quelling painting is before you're eaten. Otherwise you'll be killed. The boneyard? Are you sure it's in the boneyard? Han Fei's eyes glittered. Where is the boneyard? The clam girl shrieked, let me go. Let me go, and I'll tell you everything. Han Fei sneered. You'd better tell me the exact location before you're eaten. You're already crippled anyway. I don't mind letting you go. It's up to you how you choose. Han Fei was counting his fingers. Of course, he wasn't calculating where the boneyard was, because he wasn't capable enough to do that. He was only calculating if the clam girl was lying to him. If he limited his prediction to whether or not she was lying, he would still be able to sense it. Luo Xiaobai said coldly, you'd better think carefully before you speak. I know all the known large dangerous places near the Scattered Stars Island. In the underground city, Luo Xiaobai scolded, there's no such place as an underground city near the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei, however, was slightly surprised. The clam girl didn't seem to be lying to him. However, he played along with Luo Xiaobai and said, where is the underground city that I've never heard of? Unless you can tell me the entrance, you're lying to me. I don't know the entrance. I didn't know it until I swallowed a human being. Maybe it's in the Sea of Pearls. Han Fei's lips curled. It seems that you're lying to me. Go to hell. Xiaobai, do it. Shameless, shameless human beings. Ah, let me go. In a miserable cry for mercy, the clam girl inside finally died. Her body was no longer under her control, and half of the star shell was eaten by Little Black. Han Fei even saw a flash on Little Black's body. It had advanced. Retrieving Little Black, Han Fei was about to say something to Luo Xiaobai, when he sensed a violent soul surging at him along the void lines. Han Fei immediately sat down. Protect me. The second chapter. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 863. Han Fei discovered another great use of the divine manipulation technique. Not only could he control the soul and deprive the enemy of control of their body, but he could also deprive the ownerless souls of the dead creatures. However, Han Fei did not dare to extract all the ownerless souls. Only a small portion was pulled back by the void lines. It was not even 1/10 of the clam goddess soul. Even so, it was still a lot. Han Fei sensed that the ownerless souls that were retrieved by the void lines were not as violent as they were at the beginning, which was acceptable. Therefore, he didn't hold back at all and directly collected these ownerless souls. About half an hour later, Han Fei completely collected the ownerless souls. He hurriedly looked at his information. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 51, Junior Hidden Fisher, Spiritual Energy 461-9667-23886, Spiritual Power 3-392/3-392, Perception Range greater than 31,999 meters, Spiritual Heritage, Level 7, Low Quality Spiritual Beast, Twin Yin-Yang Spirit Swallowing Fish, Level 46. Main Art Divine Manipulation Technique, Level 5 of Void Fishing, Heaven Level, Divine Quality. Han Fei found that his spiritual power had increased by more than 200 points. He grinned. Damn, as expected of a sea spirit expert. The increase in spiritual power is even greater than the leap of a level. When Han Fei opened his eyes, Lu Renquang had recovered. At this moment, Lu Renquang immediately shouted, "We have to find a way out. This place seems unstable." Han Fei looked around, only to find that the wall was full of cracks and could collapse at any moment. Luo Xiaobai pointed at the green star shell and said, "It should be this shell. Why don't you take it and try to refine it?" Han Fei looked at the star shell. Of course this was it. This space must have been created by the shell. Han Fei immediately stepped forward and pressed his hand on the shell. He cut his palm and let the blood drip out. However, the star shell showed no reaction. Huh? It's not a blood bond? Han Fei branded it with his soul. In the next second, the view before his eyes changed. The four of them appeared in the seawater. And in Han Fei's hand, there was a small jasper shell. Han Fei immediately spread out his perception, only to find that someone was flying by on a fishing boat 30 kilometers away. Immediately, Han Fei said telepathically, "Our battle with the clam girls seems to have attracted the attention of the outside world. Let's go, let's leave this place and pretend to be a passerby." More than an hour later, the four of them sat on the wind god boat and looked at each other. Along the way, they encountered at least 10 groups of people. Fortunately, there were no law enforcers among them. Otherwise, they would have discovered it a long time ago. However, after escaping so far away, they pretended to be a treasure hunter and began to explore the vicinity. After less than half an hour, someone passed by them. That person happened to be a law enforcer. When he saw the four of them, he couldn't help but be surprised. "When did you come?" Han Fei pretended to be stunned. "We just arrived." Seeing their temporary waist tags and 6-star waist tags, the law enforcer nodded slightly. "This time we caused quite a stir. However, no purple flames appeared. Be careful." With that, the law enforcer left, leaving the four of them looking at each other again. Lu Renquang said unhurriedly, "We seem to be quite lucky." Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "We were almost discovered by the law enforcers." Han Fei said, "Let's fly in the sky. Lu Renquang will control the boat and fly anywhere. Let's take a look at our harvest first." All the harvest this time was in the star shell. The moment it appeared, Han Fei found that the inside of the star shell had become an enormous space with a radius of 20 kilometers. It was much better than the sun-moon shell. It could even be said that it was much larger than his Forge the Universe right now. Unfortunately, there weren't many treasures. The first thing Han Fei found and took out was a sea token. Luo Xiaobai said in surprise, "It's exactly the same as yours." Zhang Xuanyu said in delight, "I wonder if this token can only be used by one person. It would be great if each of us could have one." Han Fei, do you have more on your side? Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Do you think they're cabbages? I suspect that this sea token was left behind after being killed by this clam demon." Luo Xiaobai handed the sea token back to Han Fei and said, "Keep it. At that time, let's see what use this token has." Lu Renquang nodded. "This token is not easy to get. Did you forget that the Sun Clan chased me for a long time because of this token? Han Fei grinned and said, "Too. I don't think it's too little." Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei and said, "Where is the boneyard? What was the sea-quelling painting? I'm pretty sure there's no such thing as an underground city." Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai in surprise. "You don't know?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head in confusion. "Should I know?" Han Fei laughed. "Maybe I'm overthinking." Chao Qiu knew this. However, what I'm about to say should be a secret. Han Fei didn't hide it from them. Their countless life and death experiences had long since proven their relationship. Although the exploration this time was extremely dangerous, so dangerous that everyone's scalp tingled. However, this should be regarded as a good thing. The exploration experience this time told them that the secret realms and mysterious events near the Scattered Stars Island were really terrifying. If they were not careful, even hidden fishers would be killed. With this experience, Han Fei didn't care about others, but Lu Renquang, the damn fatty, would definitely cultivate harder. Just look at this guy's livid face. After a moment, Luo Xiaobai said in surprise, "Is this related to the fall of our Thug Academy?" Han Fei nodded. "Yes. If I'm not mistaken, the Thug Academy fought with some people in the Thousand Star City because of the sea-quelling painting. In the end, the Thug Academy was beaten into this miserable state now." Zhang Xuanyu took a deep breath. "Wait a minute. Are we going to fight for something that so many strong masters failed to get?" Lu Renquang nodded and said, Yes, the Thug Academy was defeated by them, but they still failed to get it. Besides, Han Fei, your big sword is actually a sea-quelling bizarre treasure? I always thought it was a divine weapon." Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu also looked at Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu didn't participate in the battle in the Demon Forest last time, but he had heard about it from Lu Renquang. Now it seemed that Han Fei didn't tell the truth before. Han Fei smiled innocently. "Do you believe me if I say that Xia Shaochan left it for me?" Zhang Xuanyu tilted his head and said, "Xia Shaochan has a sea-quelling bizarre treasure?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "If Shaochan left a sea-quelling bizarre treasure for you, she would at least leave a divine weapon for us. Do you still want to lie to us with that little trick of yours?" Lu Renquang curled his lips. Yes. Han Fei scratched his head. "Alas, I can't hide it anymore. Okay, this is what I got in the Snow God's temple. You should have heard of it, right?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Yes, it's the mission you carried out before Shaochan disappeared." Han Fei nodded. "Yes, that's it. In addition, I need to tell you that if you get a high-quality divine weapon or above in the future, don't immediately recognize it as its master. It will suck your blood." Lu Renquang was surprised. "Really?" Han Fei sneered. "Especially for people like you who haven't become hidden fishers, even if you encounter a sea-quelling bizarre treasure, you can only take it, but you can't make it recognize you as its master." Luo Xiaobai nodded slightly. "Well, I know." Zhang Xuanyu didn't envy Han Fei's sea-quelling bizarre treasure, because he knew that Han Fei couldn't exert the power of the sea-quelling bizarre treasure. In fact, there were many things that Han Fei couldn't exert the power of now. For example, Han Fei didn't dare to use Snowmorn himself. He was afraid that his spiritual energy would be drained after one attack, which would give his opponent a chance to take advantage of. For example, the embroidery needle didn't even recognize him as its master and could only be used as a hard stick. For example, the infinity water didn't know what it could be used for except as a knife. He had no clue. And the cosmic sword, Han Fei had been hesitating whether to recognize it as its master or not. It was very necessary to have an ultra-quality divine weapon in hand. However, Han Fei wasn't sure whether he still needed to learn swordsmanship after using the cosmic sword. Although the cosmic sword contained the cosmic sword technique, even Han Fei knew that he wasn't good at it. Zhang Xuanyu said, "It's so difficult to get a sea token. I really suspect that if we really went to that boneyard, Would we be killed before we even touch the map? Lu Renkuang nodded quickly. Yes, 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 I want to say the same. Han Fei sneered. So, I want you to improve your strength quickly. To be honest, those who compete for the sea-quelling painting are likely to be heavenly talents of the same generation. We can probably all go there. Luo Xiaobai was surprised. Huh? We can go without a sea token? Han Fei smiled. I'm just guessing. As far as I know, there are 99 sea tokens, but I don't believe that only 99 people will compete for them. As for the specific use of the sea token, I don't know yet, but I may know in the future. So, we all have to continue to improve our strength. Lu Renkuang took a deep breath and said, I'll become a hidden fisher when I go back. The third chapter. Asking for votes. Today will be the third chapter. Thank you everyone for your support asking for monthly votes. The story is long and not something that can be accomplished in one go. Leveling up is not the key. The main thing is still to follow the main storyline. End of this chapter. Chapter 864. Except for the sea token, which made them fantasize, there were no decent weapons in the star shell. There were only dozens of ultra-quality spiritual weapons and 2 semi-divine weapons. They didn't know which unlucky bastard had left them here. Han Fei threw all the ultra-quality spiritual weapons to Lu Renkuang. There was also a semi-divine knife, which Han Fei threw to him too. The last semi-divine weapon was a sword. Neither Luo Xiaobai nor Zhang Xuanyu needed it. Zhang Xuanyu wanted Han Fei to refine a semi-divine rod for him. Han Fei didn't hesitate and kept it for himself. Apart from weapons, Han Fei was most excited about the rest of the items. Han Fei remarked, there are more than 12,000 ultra-quality pearls, about 2,000 black pearls, 5,000 colorful pearls, and fewer than 5,000 high-quality pearls. In terms of price, 1 black pearl was equal to 100 high-quality pearls. But in terms of value, 1 black pearl contained more than 100,000 points of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy from the black pearl alone was more than 200 million. Han Fei thought for a moment. I'll keep the black pearls. You can divide the ultra-quality pearls, high-quality pearls, and colorful pearls among yourselves. In Han Fei's opinion, the value of all the other pearls combined was less than the 2,000 black pearls. Although he won the battle this time, Lu Renkuang, Luo Xiaobai, and the other 2 had made great contributions too. At least, Zhang Xuanyu protected Lu Renkuang and Luo Xiaobai for a while with his soul power. Lu Renkuang swallowed a lot of enchanting chrysalises, and Luo Xiaobai had been seizing the opportunity to fight into the star shell with him. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei in surprise. The ultra-quality pearls and the black pearls can't be traded for with high-quality pearls. Why don't you take the ultra-quality pearls too? Zhang Xuanyu said, yes. You seem to be the one who needs spiritual energy the most. Han Fei was amused. Don't forget that I'm a spirit gatherer. Do you want them? If not, I'll take them myself. Luo Xiaobai and the other 2 said almost at the same time, yes. As for the star shell itself, Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai and asked, do you know the star shell? Luo Xiaobai slightly shook her head. I only know the sun-moon shell. Usually, the space formed after the death of a sun-moon shell would exceed a kilometer in radius. As for the star shell, it might be a rare and precious shell above the sun-moon shell. Han Fei nodded. I'll keep it. When I get a sun-moon shell, I'll give it to you. Han Fei kept the star shell not because he really wanted it, but because when he wanted to take it out, he found that he couldn't. His mind raced. Isn't it already mine? Why couldn't he take it out? But he couldn't see it now. When he had time, he would go to Forge the Universe to have a look. Zhang Xuanyu scratched his head. We spent 400,000 high-quality pearls to get here. It's only been a day, hasn't it? Lu Renkuang sighed. I wonder if I can get a refund. Luo Xiaobai said, it seems that we can only get part of the money back if we return the temporary pass. Han Fei's eyes lit up. A small amount of money is still money. If there's another clam girl in the Sea of Pearls, I don't want to fight her anymore. Lu Renkuang nodded quickly. Yes, yes. I don't want to eat worms either. Luo Xiaobai said casually. The trip to the Sea of Pearls indirectly proves that we're not strong enough. If Han Fei hadn't performed more than one wave of power, we probably would have been killed. Han Fei suddenly asked, Oh right, Xiaobai, what does one wave of power mean? Is it a unit of power? Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang looked at Luo Xiaobai too. It was the first time that they had heard of such a thing. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei thoughtfully and said, One wave of power describes the slapping force of a tidal wave, which is about 10 million kilograms. The experts measure their power with that as a unit. By logic, if a hidden fisher cultivates to the peak, he may have the power of one wave with the help of other forces. While talking, Luo Xiaobai stared at Han Fei, slightly surprised that Han Fei already had more than one wave of power. Zhang Xuanyu looked at Han Fei too. Hiss! Doesn't it mean that Han Fei's power has surpassed that of a peak-level hidden fisher? Lu Renkuang was slightly stunned too. Is he really that strong? Luo Xiaobai said unhurriedly, Not more than a peak-level hidden fisher, but Han Fei, after you use the majestic mystic spell, you may have the power of a junior law enforcer. Han Fei thought of tsunamis. He had read such news before. There was once an earthquake at the bottom of the sea, which resulted in a giant crater more than 100 kilometers wide, 1,000 kilometers long and dozens of meters deep. The power generated by the violent quakes was equivalent to the power of 1,000,000 atomic bombs. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei and the seashore disappeared in the tide. Of course, that was the kinetic energy generated by the quakes of the entire sea, not a single wave. But at this moment, Luo Xiaobai's description made Han Fei secretly sigh. Was 10 million kilograms the power of one wave? In that case, the power that he could exert at his peak was probably close to 2 waves. Han Fei couldn't help but frown. Xiaobai, are you sure that one wave is 10 million kilograms? I think it's more than that, right? Luo Xiaobai said. I'm talking about the power of one corner of the wave, because if you want to attack, you can only attack one point, so this calculation is correct, and I didn't set it. In terms of the power of the whole wave, it is impossible to calculate. Han Fei patted his thigh and said, Hey! You know the majestic mystic spell too. You're very close to the power of one wave. Zhang Xuanyu rolled his eyes and said, Nonsense. After I became a hidden fisher, my strength was only about 600,000 kilograms. Even if I fuse with my spiritual beast and activate the majestic mystic spell, I can only exert the power of 4 million kilograms at most. I'm still far from the power of one wave. Lu Renkuang rolled his eyes. Are you two showing off? Lu Renkuang secretly said, No, I have to make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll really be too backward. During the next day, Han Fei and the others leisurely flew back to the Pearl Divers port. This time, they stood on the square and saw a large number of fishing boats flying back and forth. Among them, there were many 6-star experts. The 4 of them couldn't help but look at each other in bewilderment. They must have come because of the earthquake last night. Unfortunately, they didn't even use the purple fire this time. They were destined to return empty-handed. When they walked to the gate of the registration hall, they found that it was already crowded with people. What Han Fei and the others wanted to do was refund the money. How could they refund the money when there were so many people here? Zhang Xuanyu sighed and said, Why don't we just give up? Lu Renkuang said regretfully, Money. Han Fei suddenly grabbed his temporary card and said, Everyone, there are only 19 temporary cards left. If you want to buy them, it's first come, first serve. There are only 4 of them. Zhang Xuanyu and the others all looked at Han Fei in shock. Is that even possible? The crowd suddenly fell silent, and then someone turned into a blurred shadow and appeared before Han Fei. Brother, I'll take your temporary card. Shwa, shwa, shwa. All of a sudden, Dozens of people appeared in front of Han Fei in various ways. Some turned into smoke and appeared suddenly, some jumped over, and some popped up from the ground anyway. The moment Han Fei shouted, the place was already crowded with people. Someone saw Luo Xiaobai and shouted, "Miss Luo, we met in the central city. Can you give me your waist tag?" Someone put his hand on Lu Renquang's shoulder. "Brother, I'll pay you more. I'll pay you for a few more days." Someone pushed the person in front of Han Fei away. "Go away. I was here first. Why did you cut the line?" A moment later, Han Fei and the others looked at each other in bewilderment. Not only did they not lose anything on the trip to the Sea of Pearls, but they also earned 100,000 mid-quality pearls? Now, even the price of temporary waist tags had risen. Zhang Xuanyu grinned at Han Fei. "Fei, I find that you're really a talent for making money." Lu Renquang nodded. Yes. I think it's possible for us to ask for a higher price." Luo Xiaobai said, "Cultivation is more important." Han Fei thought to himself, "I've been a scalper in this damn place?" This was really a popular industry. Han Fei said, "All right, let's go. What's there to be happy about?" Just when they were about to leave, a few people in battle suits, holding a big fish skin, quickly came to the entrance of the registration hall and pasted the fish skin on the wall. An auction? Han Fei was briefly stunned. "An auction is being held at this moment?" Luo Xiaobai said, "Of course. A lot of people will come to the Pearl Divers port in the next few days, and they may be very strong. It means that they have a certain spending power. An auction at this moment is more likely to attract attention." Lu Renquang said, "Look, a few treasures are hanging on the wall. There are semi-divine weapons, heaven-level high-quality combat techniques, and a phoenix spirit ginseng." "What's that?" Han Fei's eyes immediately glittered. "Wait, the auction will be held at the Pearl Divers auction house when the moon rises tonight? Shall we go there and take a look?" Luo Xiaobai asked, "Are you interested? I think the things you have are much better than those at the auction." Zhang Xuanyu nodded quickly too. "I wonder, is the semi-divine weapon a rod?" Han Fei chuckled. "It's a rod. Do you want to buy it? You don't want me to make one for you, do you?" Zhang Xuanyu smacked his lips. "That's true." Lu Renquang asked, "Then are we going or not?" Han Fei chuckled. He was determined to get the Phoenix Spirit Ginseng. He could exchange it for Spirit Awakening Fluid with the old turtle. Han Fei said, "I'm just curious, right? We've never been to such an auction before." Luo Xiaobai said casually, "Then let's stay one more night." Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 865. The night had just arrived. In the auction house of the Pearl Divers port. A lot of people came to the auction house today. The Pearl Divers port guaranteed absolute fairness and safety in their transactions. Therefore, nobody who came to the auction was asked to conceal their faces or identities, of course. Almost none of the people who came to the auction house were below 6 stars. Occasionally, there would be a few, but most of them were probably here to broaden their horizons or to sell things. The auction house of the Pearl Divers port had a special style. There were too many pearls on the walls and the decorations. Under the illumination of the light, it seemed especially dazzling. When Han Fei and the others walked in, a waiter immediately came to them. "Sir, are you here for the auction, or do you have anything to sell?" Han Fei asked, "What are the requirements for the auction?" The waiter said with a smile, "The requirements for the heavenly talents in the Pearl Divers port are very simple. All you need to do is to prove your worth. You can participate if you have more than 500,000 points or high-quality pearls." Han Fei still had a lot of points, which were given to him by Mu Jie and Guan Qinyan in the Wind Sky Canyon. So, everybody turned over their waist tags. The waiter glanced at them and said with a smile, "Sir, would you like a private room or a public room? The tea in a private room costs only 1,000 high-quality pearls." Han Fei gave the pearls to the waiter. "A private room, please." He didn't even need to think about it. The difference between a private room and a public room wasn't just about their level. During the bidding, the feeling it gave to the competitors was also different. A moment later, Han Fei and the others came to a private room. There were sea spirit melon seeds, dried fish, and other snacks on the table, as well as sea bamboo drink. Zhang Xuanyu leaned to Han Fei and said, "Fei, I'm told that there's a great horror at the bottom of the Empyrean waterfall. Do you know what it is?" Han Fei snorted and said, "A big turtle." "A big turtle?" Lu Renkuang couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Like the rock-holding turtle?" Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, "What are you thinking? A peak-level law enforcer won't hurt anybody on purpose." Luo Xiaobai didn't react at all. While the three of them were chatting, Luo Xiaobai kept looking at other private rooms through the window. The private rooms here could block out perception, but not the naked eye. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai said, "There are many acquaintances." The three of them asked in surprise, "Where?" Luo Xiaobai pointed at a private room at the other end of the round auction hall and said, "There, Jiaren Chao." The three of them followed her gaze and saw Chao Jiaren standing by the window. Seeing their eyes fall on her, she glanced back at them indifferently. Luo Xiaobai continued, "The third room on Jiaren Chao's left is Zhangwen." Han Fei had already seen this guy. Every time that guy saw him, it was as if he wanted to eat him up. How could he not notice him? However, Han Fei remembered what old Han said. The seventh level of the true spirit fishing art might be in the Zhang family. In the future, he would have to think of a way to get close to him. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Li Hai and Li Baizhou are also here, and that guy from the Mountain Sea Pavilion, I forget his name." Luo Xiaobai said, "Zhai Shun." Zhang Xuanyu nodded quickly. Yes, that's him." Han Fei poked his head out of the window, glanced around, and happened to see Mu Ling. Mu Ling waved at Han Fei and said to him via voice transmission with a smile, "Where did you take my Tango? Recently, I often don't see him." Han Fei replied with a smile, "Don't worry. Tango has a chance." "But, sister-in-law, did you come here alone?" Mu Ling nodded. "There is something I want in this auction. I came to compete for it." He didn't talk much with Mu Ling. There were many strong masters with high stars here. For example, Han Fei saw Shi Sanyue in the room next to Mu Ling's. This woman was one of the captains in the Demon Forest. Now that he looked at it, he saw 7 stars. This was the 1,000 slaughter, the rank of a centurion. Seeing that Han Fei was looking at her, Shi Sanyue thought to herself, "We don't know each other. Why are you looking at me?" Han Fei was suddenly pulled back by Luo Xiaobai, who said helplessly, "Sit down." Han Fei chuckled. "Is the level of this auction so high?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "As far as I know, there won't be so many heavenly talents here. Since they are here, it means that there is something special in this auction that deserves their attention," Lu Renkuang said while stuffing dried fish into his mouth. "Anyway, it has nothing to do with me. Han Fei, when can you refine semi-divine weapons or divine weapons? When the time comes, can you help me change the weapons in my weapon box?" "Humph." Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, "Do you think semi-divine weapons and divine weapons are cabbages? I can't exchange them for your armor box even with all my wealth." Lu Renkuang shrugged and began to eat sea melon seeds. Zhang Xuanyu sighed. "Fortunately, I only need a stick." Luo Xiaobai shrugged. "I don't need anything. Everyone." After less than half an hour, all the private rooms, including the hall downstairs, were already full of people. At this moment, an extremely charming woman walked onto the auction stage. The woman said with a smile, "Hello, everyone. I am Wang Jiao, the auctioneer of the Pearl Divers Port Auction House. You can also call me Sister Jiao. This auction will begin in 100 seconds. Please bid in an orderly manner and release your senses to observe." Someone laughed. Jiao, let's begin. I can't wait any longer." Wang Jiao smiled. "You're so annoying. Call me Sister Jiao. Don't be hasty. The item is about to be presented." Someone mumbled, Her voice is so sweet. In the hubbub, 100 seconds passed quietly. Not long after, a girl walked over with a small box in her hands. Wang Jiao slightly nodded and the girl opened the box. Inside was a purple pill. Wang Jiao said, "This is the first item of this auction. It's named the barrier-breaking pill. I think you're all familiar with it. For peak-level hanging fishers, the barrier-breaking pill can increase their odds of making a breakthrough by 30%. Of course, if you're very confident in yourself, you can ignore it. The starting price is 3,000 high-quality pearls, and each increment must be no less than 100 high-quality pearls. The bidding begins now." As soon as the pill appeared, someone immediately called out a bid. 3,000 pills, I'll take it. Someone raised the price. 3,000, I'll take it. 3,500, please do me a favor. Hee, how much is your favor worth? I'll offer 4,000. Very soon, the price of the barrier-breaking pill reached 6,000, and it was sold at the price of 6,500. This was just the beginning. The barrier-breaking pill was only targeted at peak-level hanging fishers, so few hidden fishers bid. It also meant that few people in the private rooms bid. Wang Jiao chuckled. Congratulations, buyer. Sold for 6,500. A staff will deliver the barrier-breaking pill to you later. Now, let's welcome the next item. This time, it was the same girl again. She dragged a tray with a jade slip on it. Wang Jiao explained, "This is an ancient technique that was recently acquired from a treasure trove. I believe that somebody here must know about that treasure trove. The name of this technique is the Book of Setting Sun, a heaven-level, low-quality technique that can gather the power of heavenly fire and is suitable for people with sturdy bodies. Since it's an ancient technique, the starting price is 50,000, and each increment must be no less than 1,000. The bidding begins now." Zhang Xuanyu said in surprise, "It's very cheap." Han Fei looked at him sideways. "Why do you think it's cheap? The starting price of a low-quality technique is 50,000. It should be several times higher." As he expected, someone on the second floor made a bid. 60,000. Only soul warriors and armorists can use it. Not many people want it, right? Someone laughed. Hey. Wait, 80,000. Is there anyone who wants a higher price than me? Someone made a bid. 85,000. Why are they competing so hard for a low-quality technique? After only a moment, the heaven-level, low-quality technique had reached a price of 130,000. It didn't stop there. Only when the price reached 150,000 did someone finally stop bidding. Han Fei licked his lip. "I really want to rob them." "Everyone," Lu Renquang remarked, "they're spending so much money on a heaven-level, low-quality technique?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "Not much. It would have been higher in the logistics division." Lu Renquang laughed. "That's true." A moment later, the third item was pushed out, which turned out to be placed in a water ball. Wang Jiao said with a smile, "This is a mutated species of demon spirit sea anemones. It's extremely tenacious and grows fast. It's suitable for manipulators as a contractual spiritual plant. The starting price is 60,000, and each increment must be no less than 1,000. The bidding begins now." Immediately, many girls stood out. Someone said, 80,000, 100,000, 110,000, 150,000. Han Fei and the others were stunned. Women were truly ruthless when they started bidding. Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai. "Is it good?" Luo Xiaobai said, "It's so, but it's very tenacious and has the characteristics of parasitism. Someone wants it. 200,000. Han Fei and the others were stunned that Luo Xiaobai offered 200,000 so quickly. She was offering 200,000? Everyone fell silent. Wang Jiao smiled. 200,000 once. 200,000 twice. Deal. Congratulations, friends in room number 23. Later, a staff will deliver the demon spirit sea anemone to your room. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei and the others. Although it's SOSO, it's quite rare. I can extract its abilities and life characteristic. Han Fei was lost for words. I think I've seen it somewhere before. Luo Xiaobai. Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder. I feel that you've missed out on millions. Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 866. Han Fei had indeed seen a demon spirit sea anemone before. As for where it was, it seemed to be on the way out of the sea demon mountain. Who would pay attention to a demon spirit sea anemone? Shouldn't these things be everywhere? Luo Xiaobai said, that's fine. That's how spiritual plants are. You don't even know where some special spiritual plants appear. While Han Fei clicked his tongue, Wang Jiao pushed out another ball of water, in which a sealed fish was inside. The fish was blue and gray, and was absolutely still in the ball of water. If it weren't an exhibit, Han Fei would have thought that it was a dead fish. However, the private room wasn't far away from the platform, so Han Fei could read the information. At this moment, information popped up in his eyes. Name Hollow Netherfish Introduction. This is a very lazy fish that will go invisible after a long period of stillness. The Hollow Netherfish has a high spiritual power. It can pierce through creatures of the same level and devour their souls. Level 53 Quality, Exotic, Ultra Quality. Spiritual energy greater than 10,023 points. Effect, it can increase one's spiritual attention after it's eaten. It's very helpful for the cultivation of the visualization diagram. Collectible Hollow Nether Eye Absorbable. Before Han Fei said anything, Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei and said, I want this fish too. You can lend me some if you don't have enough money. Han Fei grinned. Fine. It seems that you know it. Luo Xiaobai nodded. It's a hollow nether fish. Lu Renquang asked in confusion, what kind of fish is it? You'll know it if you hear about it. Wang Jiao said regretfully, I think you've heard of the hollow nether fish. It's the best contractual spiritual beast for manipulators. It can help with the growth of the soul and concentration. This is a level 53 hollow nether fish. It's very rare. The starting price is 200,000, and each increment must be 10,000. This time, all kinds of voices echoed in the private room. Someone said, 200,000. Someone else said, 300,000. Chao Jiren suddenly said, 500,000. Below the stage, the people in the hall were all dumbfounded. Could a fish be sold at such a high price? In a private room to Han Fei's left, someone said, 800,000. Chao Jiren didn't even blink. 1 million. The girl gritted her teeth. 2 million. Chao Jiren, 5 million. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai joined the battle and said, 2 million. Hiss. This time, many people in the private room sighed. Are these women all King Nouveau riches? The moment he opened his mouth, he asked for 2 million. Was this still the price of a fish? Chao Jiren looked at Luo Xiaobai in surprise too, but she didn't care and continued, 3 million. This increase in the price immediately made everyone else speechless. The girl who had been bidding earlier was dumbfounded. How can you bid like this? Wang Jiao immediately came back to herself. Guest in room 23, is the siren going to raise the price? If you don't, Luo Xiaobai said calmly, 4 million. Where did these women come from? Do you not care about money? Someone sighed. How is this even possible? It's just a fish, and they're fighting for it to this extent? Chao Jiren looked at Luo Xiaobai. 5 million. If you pay 6 million, it'll be yours. Luo Xiaobai said without hesitation, 6 million. Chao Jiren didn't say anything and simply sat down. Han Fei smiled bitterly. Does Xiaobai have that much money? Wang Jiao hurried to make a deal. 6 million once, 6 million twice. Deal. A moment later, Han Fei looked at Luo Xiaobai and asked, lost for words, are you out of your mind? 6 million high-quality pearls seemed cheap, but it was worth at least 600 million mid-quality pearls. Luo Xiaobai's scoundrel made it disappear. Luo Xiaobai said, "The demon forest rewarded me 5 million points last time. I have 3 million left. I have 2 million high-quality pearls with me. Lend me another million." Han Fei smiled helplessly. "Okay, just bid. I'll give you enough money." Zhang Xuanyu said unhurriedly, "Fei, I'm tempted to bid too. Get lost." The atmosphere of the auction was intense because of Luo Xiaobai and Chao Jian. The sky-high price of 6 million had been announced. Everyone was so frightened by the two of them that no one dared to make a sound. However, Han Fei immediately thought of his divine manipulation technique. After killing the clam girl, he could absorb her soul. Chances were that it would be even more effective than the hollow nether fish. It meant that one of the abilities of the divine manipulation technique was already worth a fortune. After another 10 or so displays, almost all of the private rooms had started bidding. However, none of them had a price higher than 600. As for the Phoenix Spirit Ginseng, Han Fei bought it for only 210,000. He didn't regret it at all. At this moment, 2 soul warriors carried something that looked like a calf to the stage. It seemed to be very heavy. It was covered with a fish skin. There was no telling what it was. Wang Jiao said charmingly, "The remaining 2 exhibits were excavated from an underground relic. This one is very mysterious. I don't know what it is at all. It's very likely to be the water god statue in the ancient town. Please take a look." Wang Jiao opened the fish skin with a clatter. Han Fei's eyes bulged at that moment. A buffalo? He was speechless. What the F***ck did I think it was? It turned out to be a delicate buffalo. The water buffalo's body was engraved with all kinds of strange runes and lines. Han Fei didn't know what it was, but he knew that the buffalo couldn't be simple. Since Wang Jiao said that it was excavated from a relic, it had to be a prehistoric relic, or a buffalo couldn't have existed. Immediately, someone asked, Jiao, what is this?" Someone was stunned. "I don't know this creature. What's carved on it? We don't know him, so who should we sell this to?" Wang Jiao said with a smile, "It's exactly because nobody knows it that this item is being auctioned. Otherwise, who would auction such a marvelous statue?" Someone asked, Jiao, can you tell us what this thing is for? What are the benefits after we buy it?" Wang Jiao shook her head. "I don't know. Treasures belong to the fated. Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean nobody can. The starting price of this item is 500,000, and each bid must be higher than 10,000. Bidding begins." However, nobody said anything after a long time. Wang Jiao asked again, "Is there nobody bidding? I'll ask 3 times. If nobody bids, this item will be sold." "Is there nobody bidding?" "No one, 500,000. Han Fei opened his mouth. At this moment, everyone's gazes were on room 23. He said to Han Fei, "I can buy this thing. However, can you tell me the location of the ruins?" Wang Jiao said with a smile, "Guest in booth number 23, I'm sorry. The relic has been destroyed. Everything that can be cleaned out has been cleaned out. Guest, do you still want it?" Han Fei pretended to be silent for a while. "Okay. I'll take it." Luo Xiaobai and the others looked at Han Fei. Was there a secret in such a weird thing? Not just Luo Xiaobai and the others thought so, but so did the others. Someone even wanted to bid with Han Fei. But on second thought, if it was useless after being bought, wouldn't it be a waste? Zhang Wen's booth suddenly said, 510,000. Han Fei glanced at Zhang Wen casually and thought to himself, I have to forget about getting close to the Zhang family and getting the 7th level of the true spirit fishing art. Next time I'll kill this guy first. Being glanced at by Han Fei, Zhang Wen felt a little guilty. Wang Jiao asked, Does booth number 23 still want to bid? Han Fei smiled and said, Forget it. If he wants it, he can take it. I just want to know the location of the relic. Pooh. Zhang Wen almost spat out a mouthful of blood. So, you're just waiting for someone to take over? Wang Jiao also chuckled and said, "Is there anyone else? 600,000 once, 600,000 twice." When Wang Jiao was about to close the deal, Mu Ling's booth suddenly said, 600,000. Wang Jiao looked at Zhang Wen. "Booth number 37, do you want to continue bidding?" Zhang Wen shook his head. No. He just wanted to discuss Han Fei. Now that someone had taken over the relic, he couldn't be happier. Han Fei didn't expect Mu Ling to bid. He was just about to speak to Chao Jiaran telepathically and ask her to bid for him, but Mu Ling took over. Mu Ling also took a look at Han Fei and blinked. Han Fei nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, "Do you know that creature?" Han Fei nodded. "I saw it in the Snow God's temple." Han Fei thought to himself, "What if I don't even know a buffalo? Am I an idiot?" After all, it was the first time that Han Fei had seen a buffalo in this world. Well, although it was a statue, it was still a buffalo. A rod. All of a sudden, Zhang Xuanyu pointed at a stick that was being carried up the stage. Han Fei was stunned. It was a purple-red long rod. Han Fei glanced at it and found that it was at least a semi-divine weapon. No wonder Zhang Xuanyu was jealous. Lu Renquang murmured, "Is there really a rod for sale?" Han Fei immediately said, "You, let me tell you, it's very expensive to buy things here. Can you gather some spiritual energy and I'll make it for you?" Zhang Xuanyu said with jealousy, "Let's see how much it costs first." Wang Jiao said with a charming smile, "This rod is from the same place as the statue just now. They were both excavated from an ancient relic. Also, it's a low-quality divine weapon. You should know how valuable it is, right?" Zhang Xuanyu immediately breathed heavily. It's a low-quality divine weapon." Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, "I heard you. What are you talking about? Let's see how much the final price is." A divine weapon was a treasure on the Scattered Stars Island. Up to now, Han Fei hadn't seen anyone casually take out a divine weapon. This thing was not something that could be bought just because you had the money, Wang Jiao said. "The starting price of this rod is 2 million. Every bid must be no less than 10,000. Zhang Wen simply said, 5 million. "Those who don't have money don't compete. Let's increase the price on top of that." Shi Sandwei stood out and said, "Why don't we start with 8 million? What do you think?" Han Fei looked at Zhang Xuanyu and patted his shoulder. "We're brothers. I won't lie to you. It's just a low-quality divine weapon. I'll make one for you later. It's too expensive to buy one directly." Han Fei was rather dumbfounded. A divine weapon was so expensive? If he could make 2 daggers with the wind crystals, wouldn't it cost 7 or 8 million? Goodoo. Han Fei gulped. It was as if he could see the money rolling in his direction. Zhang Xuanyu looked at Han Fei in shock and said telepathically, "Wait a moment. Did you say that you can refine divine weapons?" Han Fei slightly nodded. Then, Lu Renquang's eyes were full of passion. Even Luo Xiaobai looked at him. Han Fei coughed. "I need spiritual energy. 200 million points. I'll make one for you. Everyone." At this moment, the price had reached 16 million. Han Fei clicked his tongue. "What a bunch of lunatics!" Zhang Wen shouted, 18 million. "Who dares to come?" Han Fei said casually, 20 million. Zhang Xuanyu and the others looked at Han Fei in confusion. "Can't you make one? Why are you bidding?" Zhang Wen looked at Han Fei with an awful expression. "Do you have so much money?" Han Fei clicked his tongue and said, "I have a lot of money. The question is, do you have so much money?" Zhang Wen was so angry that he laughed. "Are you kidding me? Money is the last thing I need. 21 million. Han Fei said, 22 million. Zhang Wen gnashed his teeth. 25 million. After a brief silence, Han Fei looked at Zhang Wen thoughtfully. "You are indeed rich. I'm just raising the price to disgust you." Puff! Everybody was dumbfounded. The third update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 867. The auction was over, and the items had been delivered. However, one more thing was sent to them, which was naturally the big water buffalo that Mu Ling won at the auction. At this moment, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang were holding the big buffalo and studying it curiously. Luo Xiaobai, on the other hand, summoned the blue cannibal flower and extended some long tentacles from its roots into the demon spirit sea anemone. Very soon, the demon spirit sea anemone was sucked dry. As for the hollow nether fish, it might have been invisible in the water because it hadn't moved for a long time. Han Fei tried the eyes of true vision, but he couldn't see anything. He didn't sense any hollow nether fish in the water either. Only then did Han Fei determine the value of the hollow nether fish. But Han Fei asked in surprise, Xiaobai, I remember that you have an invisible jellyfish as a contractual spiritual beast. Luo Xiaobai said, I'll cancel the contract immediately. The invisible jellyfish doesn't work well. Luo Xiaobai said, for a manipulator, the hollow nether fish is even more valuable than a legendary contractual spiritual beast. At this moment, Luo Xiaobai simply signed a contractual spiritual beast on the spot. Han Fei remembered that Luo Xiaobai signed a contractual spiritual beast with a divine seaweed octopus when she was on the wall of seaweed. Luo Xiaobai always had high standards when it came to contractual spiritual beasts. About half an hour later, the hollow nether fish successfully became Luo Xiaobai's contractual spiritual beast. Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang, on the other hand, had climbed onto the buffalo. At this moment they were studying the two horns of the buffalo. Zhang Xuanyu said in a low voice, What do you think this horn is made of? If we knock it off and ask Han Fei to refine it, can it be used as a material for a divine weapon? Lu Renquang slightly shook his head. I don't think so. If it were a material for a divine weapon, how could it have been bought for only a few 100,000 high-quality pearls? Zhang Xuanyu said in a low voice, That does make sense. However, I don't think we bought anything. Lu Renquang said in disdain, We're poor and don't have much money. But it doesn't matter. Han Fei has plenty of money. Zhang Xuanyu nodded quickly, agreeing with Lu Renquang's words. Han Fei was lost for words. You too, even if you want to trick me, can't you at least pretend? At least send a voice transmission. Zhang Xuanyu chuckled and jumped down from the water buffalo. I really can't understand this thing. It seemed like the material wasn't that good. The only mysterious thing is the messy lines and words on it. Han Fei stepped forward, stored the buffalo into Forge the Universe, and pushed the two of them. Let's go back to the Scattered Stars Island. He had to hurry back and cultivate. This time, the two of you are dragging me down. You were almost killed by your family. My lords, please wait a moment. Just as they were about to leave, a waiter stopped them. Han Fei frowned. What? The attendant said, My lords, since this is the first time you've come to the auction house of the Pearl Divers Port, according to our rules, you'll be entitled to a free box forever as long as you spend 1,000,000 high-quality pearls here. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. What's the use of perpetual free private rooms for businessmen like you? Can it be eaten? Look at us. Do we look like we're short of 1,000 high-quality pearls? The attendant was rather embarrassed. He thought to himself, that's exactly how our auction house attracts big shots. Luo Xiaobai took the special card and glared at Zhang Xuanyu. Why are you so arrogant when you don't have any money? Of course, this was just a minor interlude. Han Fei's mind was not here. His mind had already flown to the twisted jungle. On the Scattered Stars Island. Hardly had Han Fei returned when he said to Luo Xiaobai and the others, You go ahead with your business. I'm in a hurry. Luo Xiaobai slightly nodded. Okay. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Fei, is it related to the underground city? Are you sure the news about the underground city is true? Han Fei said casually, Whether it's true or not, I need to find out more. Lu Renquang shouted, Not so fast. Wait for me. Don't call me anymore. I'm going to make a breakthrough. After the breakthrough, I'll go to the Wind Sky Canyon and get a pair of wings. Han Fei rolled his eyes and said, There's no rush. I'm afraid that you won't be able to help me if you don't collect all the sea tokens. After bidding farewell to Luo Xiaobai and the others, Han Fei flew directly to the Twisted Jungle. This time, he didn't bother with old Jiang's messy arrays. On the way, all kinds of poisonous plants and insects were crushed by Han Fei. Some tricky arrays that old Jiang set up were directly broken by Han Fei. At this time, who would still want to break his arrays? According to old Jiang's temper, every time he came, the arrays would only become more and more difficult. However, old Jiang didn't consider that Han Fei was not a man who played by common sense. Therefore, when Han Fei broke the arrays, old Bai was so angry that his beard almost flew up in the Twisted Jungle. Old Jiang cursed, Brat, you're too impatient. It's just a cup of tea to break an array. Do you have to be so impatient? Tengu raised his head in surprise and asked, Senior, is Han Fei here? Old Jiang said angrily, Don't worry about it. Don't distract me. After a while, Han Fei rushed into the spiritual barrier and said, Old man, big discovery. Sister Qin hasn't come back yet? Old Jiang snorted heavily and said, Get out of here later. Let's rearrange my array formation once more. See how many creatures you have crushed on the way here? Han Fei ignored old Jiang but glanced at Tengu in surprise. Tengu, you are here too. Humph. With a heavy muffled snort, the air shook, and Tengu was shocked to immediately guard his mind. Han Fei wondered if his furnace was going to explode again. Han Fei muttered, Let's talk later. You should focus on alchemy first. Alchemy is more dangerous than refining. The furnace will explode at any time. Old Jiang squinted at Han Fei. Tell me, what's the matter that's worth you being so impatient? Is it because you snatched a wind god pearl? Han Fei said in surprise. How do you know? Old Jiang said disdainfully, How do I know that? How can Shao Qin not know that the wind god pearl has appeared? However, I heard that you seem to be very close to a little girl in the Empyrean waterfall. What happened? Han Fei curled his lips and said, That's impossible. Don't you know what kind of person I am? Do you have any kind of person? Han Fei said gloomily, Enough nonsense. I know the news about the boneyard. Suddenly, old Jiang's hand trembled slightly, and then he said solemnly, Where? Shao Qin has been here for so long and she hasn't found it. How did you find it? Tengu pricked up his ears. The boneyard? Where is that? Han Fei said, Old Jiang, have you ever heard of the underground city? Old Jiang looked solemn, which was rare. That's a sunken land. On the Scattered Stars Island there is a legend. It is said that somewhere under this sea, an ancient city is buried. Back then, countless people almost turned over the millions of kilometers around the Scattered Stars Island in order to find this underground city, but they still couldn't find it. Boy, is your information accurate? Han Fei nodded. If there is no accident, it should be accurate. With that, a sea token appeared in each of Han Fei's hands. Seeing this, old Jiang's eyelids twitched. Another one? Old Jiang slowly stood up from the chair and paced back and forth on the open space. After a while he said, Go cook first. I'll call Shao Qin back. Han Fei was speechless. How can you ask me to cook when something important is happening? However, seeing that old Jiang seemed to be thinking about something, Han Fei didn't ask much but approached Tengu and said, What pill are you going to make this time? By the way, sister-in-law Mu Ling did me a favor 3 days ago. I won't thank her. You should thank her. Bam! The pill furnace exploded in an instant. A burst of black smoke came out and blackened Tang Ji's and Han Fei's faces. Tengu immediately glanced at old Jiang, only to find that the old man didn't seem to care at all. He was still pacing back and forth as if thinking about something. Han Fei secretly pulled Tengu up and walked to the kitchen, complaining, Why do you keep blowing up the furnace? I'm still waiting for you to make pills for me. Tengu smiled helplessly. The path of alchemy is difficult. It's extremely complicated. I'm barely a 2-star alchemist now. There's still a long way to go. Tengu suddenly said, "Where is the boneyard? And where is the underground city?" Han Fei was about to speak, when old Jiang snorted and said, "Don't ask so many questions. Tengu, don't come here to make pills for a while and try to improve your strength. In addition, Han Fei, try to prepare some spiritual energy, healing spiritual fruits, and energy fruits as much as possible." Suddenly the barrier shook. Jiang Qin's voice came. "Not only these, Han Fei, can you refine divine weapons now? Can you make a disposable divine weapon?" Han Fei was stunned for a moment. Jiang Qin is back so soon? Han Fei was stunned for a moment and guessed that this underground city would be very dangerous. Otherwise, old Jiang and Jiang Qin wouldn't have paid so much attention to it. Han Fei asked, "Can I use a disposable semi-divine weapon? I don't have any materials." Jiang Qin froze for a moment. "Are there disposable semi-divine weapons?" Han Fei nodded. "It depends on how you refine them. They should work. But disposable semi-divine weapons don't seem to be very strong." Old Jiang said, "If there are no divine weapons, you can only use semi-divine weapons instead. There's nothing we can do about it." Han Fei couldn't help but stop what he was doing. "Old Jiang, Sister Qin, is this underground city so dangerous?" Jiang Qin nodded deeply. "It's more dangerous than what we described. I thought. Forget it. Don't spread this news anymore. In the future, try to improve your strength as much as possible." Fourth update. To cheer everyone up, add more updates. Ask for monthly votes. In a few days at most, it will slowly enter the climax. End of this chapter. Chapter 868. At the dinner table. Qilu. Old Jiang took a sip of wine and said leisurely, "In a relic near the Scattered Stars Island, someone once found half of an ancient scroll. It said that in ancient times, the Scattered Stars Island was much larger than it is now. It said that there was a human city built here at that time. Maybe because of the war with the sea demons at that time were not like the half-mermaids and half-mermaid. Those sea demons were all real top experts who could move mountains and seas." Han Fei had an idea. Old Jiang might be talking about the powerful intelligent race like the mermaid clan. But Han Fei also knew that there were not only mermaids, sea demons, and demonic plants in this world, but maybe there were also crab clans. Who knew? Old Jiang continued. Among the human beings at that time, it said that there was an unparalleled king who led humans and sea demons in an earth-shattering battle. In the end, the seabed collapsed, the earth fire surged, and the monstrous waves drowned the city. Later, for some reason, the sea demons retreated, and the remaining human beings built large boats and crossed the sea. But on the Scattered Stars Island, human beings and demons all left. It's impossible to know how human beings developed later. Tengu asked in surprise, "What king? An explorer-level expert?" Han Fei found it rather weird. From old Jiang's vague description, why was the city so similar to Atlantis' silence? Of course, Han Fei knew that it was just similar. The problem was that, if the dungeon fell, it should be in the underground world. Han Fei also asked, "Is the underground city not underground?" Old Jiang sneered. "How can it be so simple? If it was really underground, it could be found by digging all the way down. Wouldn't it have been dug out by human beings a long time ago?" Old Jiang glanced at Tengu and Han Fei. "Let's talk about the king first. First of all, the king was not an explorer, but a super-strong expert above the venerable. It's said that the king's Dharma body protected the city. In order to prevent the city from completely collapsing, the king moved it to an unknown place." Tengu was surprised. Stronger than a venerable? Han Fei was surprised. Another unknown place? Han Fei and Tengu looked at old Jiang in astonishment. The old man snorted and said, "What again? Why do you think the Scattered Stars Island is called the Unknown Place? If there's only the Scattered Stars Island here, why don't we just call this place Scattered Stars Island? Han Fei's eyes widened. Seriously? Could it be that the legendary underground city is the true origin of the unknown lands? Slurp. Old Jiang took another sip of the wine and nodded slightly. Of course, the Scattered Stars Island is just an island on the sea. With so many people here, there's nothing we don't know. The real unknown is that underground city. Jiang Qin continued. Han Fei, you said that you got the information from a clam girl? Han Fei nodded quickly. Yes, that clam girl hunts pearl divers and seems to have been resurrected a long time ago. Fortunately, her strength has not recovered, and her resurrection is not complete. Otherwise, you might not be able to see me anymore. Tang Ge looked at Han Fei. Where did you go? Han Fei shook his head. Nothing. Just the Sea of Pearls. Tang Ge was briefly stunned. Is there such a dangerous place in the Sea of Pearls? Jiang Qin, however, glanced at Han Fei casually. You found the secrets of the quakes in the Sea of Pearls, the appearance of purple fire, and the disappearance of pearl divers? Han Fei nodded. Yes. It's an independent space. I learned the information about the underground city from her. Also, the clam girl said that there might be an entrance to the underground city in the Sea of Pearls, but I'm not sure. Old Jiang chuckled. She was probably lying to you. According to you, if the clam girl is an ancient being who has been resurrected, she should know the Sea of Pearls very well. How can she not know if there's an exit? Han Fei was lost for words. Then how are we going to find it? The boneyard is in the underground city, which has been moved to the unknown place by a king-level expert. How are we going to find the unknown place? Jiang Qin said casually. That's not entirely impossible. Han Fei and Tang Ge both looked at Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin said, Do you know why the transverse mountain is strictly controlled? Nobody but the experts can enter it? Han Fei asked in surprise. Isn't it said that spirit awakening fluid can be mined there? Could it be this news is fake? Old Jiang said with a smile. It's true that spirit awakening fluid can be mined there, but do you know where the spirit awakening fluid comes from? Han Fei and Tang Ge looked at each other in bewilderment and tilted their heads at Old Jiang. Is it the underground city? Old Jiang snorted and said, Yes and no. Han Fei said, Hey, old man, can you stop beating around the bush? What is it? Say something we can understand. Old Jiang said angrily, What's the rush? There's a speculation that the spirit awakening fluid may be related to kings. Han Fei was stunned. Kings are so capable? Tang Ge scratched his head and said, Kings are so strong? Can they create spirit awakening fluid? Old Jiang said unhurriedly, Only experts who expand the sea can become kings. It's said that they can attract the Tao of nature on their own in that level. Have you ever wondered why the spirit awakening fluid turns into nothingness after you drink it? Han Fei's eyelids twitched crazily. Why? Old Jiang raised his head and sighed. Maybe it's not water at all, but a kind of law. How could such a profound mystery of heaven and earth be a pure liquid? Jiang Qin continued, So, there's a preliminary speculation. That is, the undersea smoke, the transverse mountain, and the spring under the old turtle in the Empyrean waterfall may all lead to the underground city. Tang Ge was dumbfounded. How can there be an old turtle in the Empyrean waterfall? Han Fei patted Tang Ji's shoulder and said, There's an old turtle under the water under the Empyrean waterfall. Tang Ge had mixed feelings. He didn't realize until today that the world was not as simple as he thought. Jiang Qin said, Apart from those places where the spirit awakening fluid is produced, in the transverse mountain, the spirit awakening fluid is more like collecting it than excavating it. As she spoke, Jiang Qin looked at Old Jiang. Grandpa should know better about this. Old Jiang touched his beard and said unhurriedly, Hee. There's a bottomless pit in the transverse mountain, and the spirit awakening fluid automatically flies out from there and never stops. Of course, there's not that much of it. Han Fei was shocked. A bottomless pit? Tengu asked. Nobody has gone down to check it? Old Jiang snorted. I told you that it's a bottomless pit. Countless people have gone down to check it over the years, but no one has ever come out. You can't even fly in there, and you can only fall endlessly. Maybe the people who went in hundreds of years ago are still falling in there. Han Fei, Tengu, the two of them felt that they were listening to a heavenly book. This was the reason why other people were not allowed to enter the Transverse Mountain. It turned out that there was a strange place hidden there. Han Fei suddenly shivered and looked at old Jiang. What about the old turtle under the Empyrean waterfall? What if we save the old tortoise and enter the spring under it? Old Jiang smiled at Han Fei. You don't know why the old turtle is there? Han Fei said aloud, I do. The Empyrean waterfall itself is an enormous seal of laws, and a large number of people need to break through the law enforcers there and erode the seal. But if you ask me, why go through all that trouble? The explorers can move the Empyrean waterfall and destroy the Scattered Stars Island. Fine. The Scattered Stars Island can't be destroyed. Tengu was dumbfounded. The Empyrean waterfall is a seal? Tengu found that he was a newbie now. He knew everything, but he didn't understand. Break through the law enforcers and erode the seal? What was that all about? Jiang Qin shook her head slightly. So, it's not realistic to enter the Empyrean waterfall from the bottomless pit in a short time. We can't go in through the bottomless pit either. We won't even know where he went. Han Fei took a breath and said, The undersea chimney is the only place left. Han Fei said affirmatively. If nobody went there and came out, how could the sea-quelling painting be in the boneyard? How did the name boneyard come about? Tengu gave up. He really didn't understand. Where did the sea-quelling painting come from? Jiang Qin nodded. Grandpa and I think so too, but the undersea chimney rarely appears. If we can't get there as soon as possible, the entrance will probably be sealed. It's even hard to say whether there is an entrance or not. Han Fei nodded. Hey, Sister Qin, you're in charge of the pioneer group. Haven't you seen the undersea chimney? Jiang Qin said helplessly. I have, but I didn't know that the boneyard was in the underground city, so I didn't think about it before. Didn't you just tell me today? I rushed back immediately. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. In any case, it's useless to be anxious now. No. Jiang Qin looked at Han Fei solemnly. The undersea chimney might appear if it said. If the undersea chimney is really the entrance, then you have to find a way to improve your strength. Old Jiang also said lightly, There are not so many coincidences in this world. You were lucky to know about the underground city. Do you know that luck is sometimes a kind of destiny? Now that we have the news, it's only a matter of time before the underground city appears. You have to find a way to improve your strength. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter.